now, let's meet our starting lineup here at the Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC as we turn our attention down to the front line where we have our top 10 in the overall points staged and ready to introduce to you. But first, before we do that, my friends, we have a whole lot of folks that are here and watching. A man from across in the land, from the land of the rising sun, of course, our sister racing series from Japan, the JNCC, visiting with us here today. We want to welcome out on board the 111 from Japan, the JNCC Infab and Pro Yamaha, Hiroshi Yamamoto. Rolling to the line today, second as he is our defending GNCC champion, and first in points, he rides aboard the number 1 from Boonville, North Carolina, on an Fmf KTM factory racing KTM, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line today, second in points on a 2-win race streak, looking to make it 3 wins in a row here in his home state of West Virginia. On board the 988 from Williamstown on the Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna Team Husky, Bad Duval. Rolling to the line today, third in points, aboard the 514 from Belton, South Carolina, on a KTM SR KTM. He opened up the 2017 season with the win, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next, he is fourth in points, aboard the number 212 from Duval, Washington, an Infab and Pro Yamaha ride, Ricky Russell. Also riding on an Infab and Pro Yamaha, he is fifth in overall points. He rides aboard the number 206 machine out of the XC2 Pro class from Winstead, Connecticut. Once again, welcoming Josh Toth. Up next, he is sixth in points aboard the number 114, hailing from Australia, a former GNCC champion on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna machine backed by Bell Ray, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line next, he is seventh in points, riding aboard the number 4 under the guidance of the great Rodney Smith on the Beta USA Beta from Cookeville, Tennessee, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line next, he is eighth in points aboard the 314 from Belton, South Carolina. He rides for Rocky Mountain ATV MC, KR4, and Husqvarna, Brad Baylor. Rolling to the line next, he is an XC1 Pro Class rookie. He rides aboard the number 5, ninth in points from Morganton, North Carolina on a JCR Honda, Trevor Bollinger. And last today, from the XC2 class, he rides aboard the number 9. He is 10th in points from Morgantown, Pennsylvania, on a Coastal Racing Rockstar Husqvarna, the number 9, Craig DeLong. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this, the Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC, as our top 10 riders find their way back to the starting line here today. We are poised and ready to strike and tackle Snowshoe, West Virginia, and the wild, wonderful wilderness that Snowshoe has to offer here, my friends, as we fire these machines back up and ready ourselves for the start of today's race. A little bit on the delay side of things, but I'll tell you folks right now, it is well worth the wait if you are a GNCC racing fan, because you know what this mountain holds for these riders. Deemed as America's new toughest race, and here in 2017, there are very few that stand here and will argue with you about that fact, my friends, because they just rode some of the most challenging mileage they will ever ride, quite possibly in their career as a motorcycle racer. And today, here in just moments, the world's best will tackle this mountain themselves. As we said, our visiting GNCC rider from our sister Japanese National Cross Country Championship in Japan is here with us on board the 111. We welcome him out. Proud to have them as a part of the Snowshoe GNCC. And we wish them well as they get set to tackle Snowshoe themselves. Right now, our riders on row 1 and 2 are ready themselves. And if you're just joining us and you're not familiar, well, this is the old Blackwater style way they used to start in Davis, West Virginia, only a couple of mountain ridges from where we are right now. Actually, it's where the original Blackwater was ran. So this is what they did in Davis. They closed down the streets and they started them about 5 at a time and sent them into the wonderful wild wilderness here. And that's what we do to keep that tradition of of Blackwater alive. As we work our way down here to the starting line, Ricky Towery has already began our starting sequence, my friends, as we are less than now 30 seconds away. The blue flag is waving. Again, this is a live engine start, so it is going to be so much different than what we have seen in the past. If you've never seen the Snowshoe GNCC itself, all eyes again down on Ricky Towery as he watches that watch. He lets these riders know it's almost time to go GNCC racing in 10 seconds for row number 1 here at the Snowshoe GNCC. Caleb Russell, Josh Toth, Ricky Russell, Stu Baylor, and Thad Duvall off and rolling. Row number 2 getting set to roll next. Jordan Ashburn, Trevor Bollinger, Craig DeLong, Josh Strang, and Grant Baylor. Row number 3, Russell Bobbitt, 5-time National Enduro Champ, Ryan Sipes, Mike Witkowski, Lane Michael, and Chris Bott. Row number 4 rolling next, Benjamin Kelly, Jesse Grom, Vance Francis, and Jason Thomas from the XC3. Row number 6 featuring our visiting JNCC rider, Hiro Yamamoto and Scotty Grills. Row number 7, this is XC2 250, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Austin Lee, and Ryder Lafferty. Row number 8, Brendan Riordan, Zach Nolan, Chris Vendetti, and Trevor Barrett, XC2 250 Pro. Row number 9, XC2, Dylan Rash, Braxton McGee, Nathan Thornhill, Drew Higgins, Anthony Federico, Ryan Francis, and Nick Davis. Row 10, XC2 250, Harrison Helmick, Dylan McRitchie, Joshua. Up next is Fmf Xc3, Josh Atkins, Mark Koreska, and Hunter Neworth. Row 12, Fmf Xc3 125, Devin Welch, DQ, David Quillen, and Sharon Williams. Row 14, 4-stroke 8 lights, Colin Keegan, Connor Keegan, Ryan Slopko, Tucker Gillespie, Cole Madison, and Cody Jeffers. Row 15, Brendan Poling, Tyler Braniff, Caleb Williams, and Braden Moore, 4-stroke A lights. Row 16, 4-stroke A lights, Justin Murphy, Josh Lee, Russell Smith, Matt Tavani. Row 17, Open A, coming next. Brady Myers, Evan Earl, Ben Parsons, Timothy Murphy, and Cope Becker. Row 18, Open A, Zach Tussle, Connor Smith, Levi Keller, Damon Rummel, and Paul Petrin. Row 19, Open A, Colton Cupp, Spencer Hoyt, Tyler Brunton, Bryce Coster, and Brandon Higgins. Row 20, Cash Jacobs, Eli Childers, Johnny Manera, and Nathan Davis, 200A. Row number 20, Hunter Reimer, 200A. Row 21, I believe, Hank Hayes. Now the 200A, Brody Johnson, Alexander Luger, Clint Masters, and Josh Brown. Row 23, 250A, Chase Hayes, Brewer Cawley, Alex Teagard, Jonathan Johnson, and Cody Barnes. Row 24, Sam Shaver, Anthony Tavani, Bradley Lawler, Nathan Rector, Matthew Kiefer, Simon Johnson, Zachary Ferentz, 250A. Row 25, Zachary Hugel, Zachary Toth, Hunter Bush, Justin Farewell, 250A. Row 26, 258, Jesse Ansley, Eric Douglas, Matthew Davis, Nico Schoen, and Josh Farrell. Row 28, Junior AB, I've got Andrew Boggs and Kevin Simmons. Looks like a third rider not on my sheets, ready to roll as well. Row 29, Nolan Seifert, Lee Nieper, Randy Roberts, Joseph McCarty, Josh Lewis, and Lane Holster, Junior AB. Senior A, row 30, Sean Remington, Christian Broombaugh, Bob Bergman, and Jeffrey Odell. Row 31, Senior A, Patrick Tobin, Frank Tussle, Sean Levesque, Richard Osborne, Patrick Davis, Ronald Awad, and Brian Villanova, Senior A. Row 32, Moto Pro, Rob Brown, Chris Levin, Albert DeMott, James Bennett, Justin Haynes, and Jeff Staples. Row 33, Vet A, 30 plus, Joe Marsh, Sam Forrester, Jared Hoffman, Jesse Arsenal, and Joe Dean. Vet A, row 34, this will be Chris Silverman. Vet A, row 35, A.J. Snively and Joseph Geyer Jr., Vet A. Row 36, Vet A, Chance Baker, John Beaver, Dustin Gibson, Morgan Graves, and Bill Zavendi. Row 37, Bolton B. Roth, Joe Spivey, Adam Parker, and Hunter Hart. Four-stroke B lights. More four-stroke B lights. 38, row 38, Chad LaFollette, Evan Young, Sean Cochran, and Andrew Tinker. Row 39, four-stroke B lights, Jacob Herman, Eric Ross, Gatlin Welbert, and Austin Evans. Row 40, Junior AB, Tyler Hampton, Mike Percy, Aaron Miller, Casey Belt, and Jesse Kildo. Row 41 will be 250B, Mike DeLosa, Blaine Kimry, and Tyler Martin. Row 42, 250B, Kyle Prisma, Bradley Bajkowski, Mitchell Morgan, Grant Kirkman, Jonathan Harker, Denver Martin, and Brian Conrad. Row 43, Mike Grubb, 250B, Owen Brown, Hayden Dillon, Corey King, Evan Stewart, Billy Saliga, and Noah Martz. Next up is our 200B, row 44, Chase Coble, Cole Johnson, Noah Stewart, and Brandon Keegan. Row 45, 200B, Nicholas Haynes and Seth Bevington. Row 46, Trail Henderson and Randy Smith, 200B. Vet B, next, row 47, Sean Morris, Kevin Rammer, Sean Royal, Jordan Overfield. Row 48, Vet B, 30 plus, Larry Hopper, Steve Young, Robert Marion, also Mike Horwath, Nathan Kaufman, Scott Dallin, and Jason Stickley. Row 49, Vet B, Brian Kramer, Steve Lambruno, Wes Morris, Ambrose Kolansky, Wayne Skidmore, Jeremy Stawoli, and Nathan Miller. Row 50, James Harsberger, Grant Lehman, Jacob Barnes, Corey Jordan, and Jared Shiley. Open B. Also open B, row 51, Adam Hollenkamp, Gus Dial, Dominic Jarvis, Richard Taylor, Dustin Stanley, Aaron Lehman, and Brian Flowers. Row 52, open B, Jacob Britt, Matt Sorge, Cody Stevens, Steven Schonkweiler, Zane Clevenger, Brian Schell, and Anthony Herring. Row 53, Senior B, Jeffrey Flynn, Devin Ferguson, Kelly Laborde, William Lackey, and Gregory Richardson. Row 54, Senior B, Tim Taylor, Steve Turner, Mike Dembeski, Hector Snevin, Mark Proper, and Mark Flightus. Also, we got Darren Darmus and Aguilets. Now 52, row 55, Cody Cleese, Will Busson, Stephen Gulick, Matt Domodic, Brady Stefanik, Dakota DeVore, Daniel Cleveland. Row 56, Open B, Cassidy McMahon, Greg Stone, Matt Bruffy. And row 99, Jack Edmondson. Actually, I believe those are some of the guys that didn't show up. So that's going to do it, folks. That is the wrap-up of the start here this afternoon as we are rolling through wild, wonderful West Virginia. 21 point, however many miles. I think it's 21.4 miles, man. That's about as close to Blackwater as you can get, my friends. It's the tradition living on here in the great state of West Virginia. And, of course, folks, the big question is, can Caleb Russell get back in his winning way? Will Thad Duvall tame this mountain, or will we get a big surprise today? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this.
We handle your races, your jumps, and your trails. Isn't it time you give your daily driver the same love? Amsoil Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard. Amsoil also offers a full family of dirt bike lubricants, giving you above and beyond fortification for your weekday and weekend vehicles. Amsoil, devoted to protection.
As riders and racers, we understand the need to get quality parts, apparel, and accessories fast. We have the horsepower of multiple warehouses to make sure your gear, OEM parts, or accessories make it to your door quickly. Check out our easy-to-use website and experience customer service that takes the whole shot. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Here he is, Walker Fowler, Grand National Cross Country XC1 Pro Class Champion. And welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes, and I'll be joined in just a moment with Rodney Tomlin and Johnny G. Johnny Gallagher will be in the booth with us as well later on this afternoon. So welcome to round number 8, the Amsoil Snowshoe here in beautiful, beautiful, picturesque West Virginia. Have we got a good one in store for you here today? Big story, is it going to be Thad Duvall taking his 3rd in a row? Is Caleb Russell going to get back to his winning ways? Are we going to see a Stu Baylor, Josh Strang? We don't know. It's still too early to tell. Just getting started. Bit of a delay here today, and that speaks to how tough this race is. Toughest race in America, and I'm telling you right now, you talk to anybody who raced it yesterday, you talk to anybody who raced it this morning, they're going to agree. It is absolutely the toughest race in America right here. We've got a 21.6-mile course for you here this afternoon. That's as close to a tribute to Blackwater as it gets right there. So to get us started here, we're going to take a look at some highlights from Tomahawk round number 7 out of New York. Get you updated here. So as our riders take off, so our riders coming through the whole shot there. Josh Strang out in front and didn't hold it real long. There's Caleb behind him in there trying to make the pass, and Caleb had a rough day to say the least. Ended up finishing the race in 5th, which honestly kudos to him because he had some troubles early on. Actually broke a, I believe the shifter, the foot shifter on the bike, and had to come out and get that fixed as our riders go down out of the XC2 class, coming in through the first turn there and into the whole shot. And out of XC2, where are we at here? So out of the XC2, it ended up being Josh Toth by the end of it. He led early on. Josh Toth actually flirted with a top 3 in the overall. So that was one heck of a race for him. There is the shot of Josh Strang, who led early on. The 557 there, that would be the number. That was the number plate that Caleb Russell was running. And getting a good shot of our XC1 riders coming through the line there. There's Trevor Bollinger, the number 5, working his way through. And we still have the number 114 of Josh Strang out in front. There's Caleb Russell with a different number plate at round number 7. Kind of a tribute to Cookie there, if you're familiar. Shot of Stu Baylor coming through right there. I believe, back in like 5th place through there. So early on, it was a whole lot of Josh Strang. We can see Caleb still right on the rear end of Josh Strang working through there. And there we go. Now he's out in front, and not something we're used to seeing. Dirt on the front of the bike of Caleb Russell right there. Strang now working in 2nd place. And as they roll on here, getting another shot. So they worked through this one. This was... they talked about New York being a little bit different than normal. It was a lot slicker than they had experienced in the past. Kind of caught them off guard. And as soon as I say that, of course, Caleb Russell's kicking the dust up. But we'll see later on in the highlights, you're going to see that front fender of Caleb Russell flopping all over the place. It's not, I don't think we caught him going down. But he did take a fall, and it dropped him back. So there's Josh Strang still trying to work his way into this one. As they go into the wood section, I think that was Thad Duvall there in 3rd place. And as they come around, there's Josh Strang. Didn't have to pit. I think that, who did pit? I think that was Thad Duvall pitting on the Husqvarna team right there. So then we see Caleb gone off of the line. So, and this is the highlights here again from the Tomahawk round number 7. So moving through these here, it was a lot of Josh Strang and Thad Duvall in this one. Thad working hard to work his way up there into the front of the pack, making a pass right there. And Ryan Sipes working into the spot. My bad, Ryan Sipes works out into the front, making the pass right there. Sipes ended up finishing the day out in 2nd place. And Duvall, that's right, Duvall actually wrecked on the first lap at the Tomahawk and worked his butt off all day long to get up there in the front and getting more looks here. There's Caleb Russell coming through right now. And that front fender's still intact on Caleb Russell, so it worked its way loose. I believe that Stu Baylor right there, working his way around and in through the finish. So as they work their way through the wood section, there's a good shot. That was Thad Duvall working his way through the wood section there. Again, we mentioned, at the Tomahawk, he went down in lap number 1 and had to work hard at it all day long to catch up.
If you remember, though, Ryan Sipes had a really good day that day as well. We got to finally see Ryan running up in the places that we know he can. And, I think, being racing some of the 125 Dream races and stuff like that at the Nationals, he qualified for High Point National there last weekend, having a little bit of fun. And I was talking with Barry Hawk and a few guys. Everybody seems to think that that's where it's all at, is having some fun. And I think that's translating into his riding. I think we're going to see that out of him again here today, I think. So as the day wore on, though, Thad Duvall was able to work his way out to the front of the pack, and Duvall gets his 2nd in a row, looking for win number 3 in a row here in the home state of West Virginia as we rolled into that first start today. I know that Thad was really anticipating good things today and hoping for good things, but he knows as well as anyone, man, this mountain right here, no one is going to be able to tame it. Walker may have came as close to anybody doing it as yesterday, but at the same time, I don't even know that Walker necessarily tamed the mountain other than the fact that maybe it was a little harder on some of those guys. But Walker was able to get through on that first lap, and that's where he won that race at. And, man, I tell you, he is on his way to a 3rd championship in that division. And it set the stage for a great battle today, I believe. I am really stoked on what we've got going on here. I know that there are a lot of riders that are capable of winning this race. I know that Caleb Russell, you know, he hasn't said it outright. I haven't heard him say it, but you have to think he is thinking, demoralize these guys. Stop them right now. Don't let them get that confidence that they are starting to gain with those 2 losses. And, you know, rightfully so. I mean, Caleb is obviously a very fast individual. He's had 2 races, the muddy race at X Factor where he had some issues, and some issues again there a couple of weeks ago. But I don't think that we can let that overshadow the trueness of what's going on here. Caleb is one of the toughest, fastest, greatest riders in GNCC history. He's tough to beat, and, you know, don't kick a man when he's down, because you're going to do nothing but make that man mad. When he stands back up and gets ready to fight again, it's going to get ugly. And there were a few kicks that went around there a few weeks ago. It made him a little bit upset, but, you know, I think he's calmed down from that, and it still might be in the back of his mind. I think if he finds the opportunity, demoralization might be on his mind right now. But at the same time, we have to remember this is Snowshoe, and anything can happen here at Snowshoe, just like any other GNCC, and it's amplified here, I think, in these mountains. I
think you're exactly right. And taking a look at the point standings coming into this one, Thad Duvall is now tied with Stu Baylor for that 2nd place spot. I think they're both at like 146 or something like that. So whoever is out in front in this one is going to most likely take that 2nd place spot in the point standing. So those guys are hungry, and I think at this point in the season, at round 8, your mindset, if you're Stu Baylor or you're Thad Duvall, is, okay, I got to get going. I got to catch up to Caleb, and if I'm going to do it, what better place to start than Snowshoe?
No doubt. And I know that, well, all these guys really started, I think, got the momentum rolling those first few rounds of 2017. And it just, you know, I've seen it. I've honestly seen the table being set for what we were going to be able to see this year. And, you know, a lot of questions, you know, people, you know, with the domination that we saw, what seemed like was going to be domination after that first race with Caleb Russell and stuff, we all still knew he was human. We knew that these riders were coming up. They were gaining more confidence each week, and we knew that the odds were that eventually Caleb was going to start to have some problems, whether it be mechanical, whether it be just a mistake that be made, or whether it be something happened, you know, the course or something like that. So, I mean, that's just the nature of GNCC. To have a perfect season or be nearly unbeatable is nearly impossible here, but I think Caleb can come to about as close to that as anybody. And today, it's, again, still up in the air. One of the riders that I want to keep an eye on, the 206 of Josh Toth, he's starting out in that front row today, and I don't know if that's going to be an advantage or disadvantage for him, but there's a few guys back there on row 2 that have been chomping at the bit here in 2017, and riders that could position themselves very easily to take a win. And talking about riders like Trevor Bollinger in particular, these are the types of conditions that he seems to excel in, coming out of Morganton, North Carolina, home of the Still Creek GNCC. He's no stranger to mountainous riding. We've seen him finish well here. Last year, I think he was on the podium second, if memory serves me correct. But regardless, he's in a good position. If he can get up there, you know, that time adjustment thing is going to play into his favor today. But we also got to think about it like this. Josh Strang, who, if memory serves me correct, has won a couple of times here in years past. He's also on row 2. And he's also in a position that time adjustment could play in his favor. All he's got to do is ride with that front pack if he catches up to him as well. And then you look a little further back, guys like Ryan Sipes and Russell Bobbitt are a couple more that could fare very well in this time adjustment and starting a little further back. But as this day wears on, I mean, I think we saw it in the ATV racing. We've seen it in years past. You know, the early part of the race, a lot of that craziness happens. We see folks up front that normally aren't up front. We read names and we're like, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't expect to see this guy riding here. And, you know, he started in row 27 and, you know, 5 rows behind so-and-so. And, you know, normally though, as the race wears on, toward the end of the race, you start to see things even out. Kind of like what we did, I think, in yesterday's XC2 Pro-Am. Now, we saw Eichard. He ran solid all the way through yesterday's XC2 Pro-Am class. But, I mean, those are the kind of things that you can expect to see. Different names. And I can't wait to see who's going to be in the top 10, top 15, 20 overall after that first lap of racing, and see how much it's going to change when they come from the west side back to the east side. So Just to give you guys at home a little bit of an idea about what's going on here, as we told you, it is a tribute race to the granddaddy of them all, the bird that gave birth to the GNCC series itself, the Blackwater 100. And, of course, with that, the Blackwater 100 was noted as being one of, well, America's toughest race. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily the entire track that was tough. It was sections of the track was tough. And that's what we're faced with here at Snowshoe. And though we don't cover the 25 miles of territory here, we do, with a combination of the east side and the west side of the mountain, have like 21.4 miles of racetrack that these riders are racing on today. By the time they complete both sides of the mountain, it'll say 2 laps, but in my theory and Blackwater tradition, that's 1 full lap. So a 21.4-mile lap all the way around on both sides of the mountain. That's a pretty good haul for these guys. But then again, at the same time, you know, you put into perspective, that's a lot, but they're still only out there for 3 hours. I think the mileage that they normally do in a race will be the same. The only thing is they don't have as much time to necessarily familiarize themselves with the track because they don't make as many laps. They do a lap over on one side of the mountain, a lap over on the other. That's a lot of mileage out there to try to remember from lap to lap, and you only get 2-3 laps on both sides of the mountain. I know the ATVs did 3 laps on the east side of the mountain and 2 laps on the west side of the mountain yesterday, and that was in a 2-hour race. I can expect, and I do expect today, with the track on the west side of the mountain being a little bit longer, I expect probably about a 30-minute lap on each side of the mountain, maybe a few minutes more. So we'll probably be looking at 3 total laps going on both sides of the mountain. That would be my assumption, but we'll see how it plays out. We'll see what those lap times are like. Yesterday, I think we were a little bit surprised when we saw riders coming through with 31-minute lap times after the first lap. They actually shaved a couple minutes off down into the 29-minute range. We kind of anticipated the lap traffic may actually slow them down on that second lap on the east side of the mountain, but that wasn't the case yesterday. I know there was a rock garden that was cut out, but there wasn't a whole lot of track that was cut out, but there was a section that one rider in particular, Walker Fowler, made it through. The second place guy got hung up, and for a couple minutes, everybody was stuck in that one position. Walker comes out with nearly a 2-minute lead, or what seemed like, I guess it was at least 2-minute lead or so, over Chris Borge and the rest of the field. So this is one of those tracks where nearly anything can happen out there, and we got the infamous Howard's Hole to take a look at. We've got the Fmf PowerPoint that is a gnarly uphill section. It's so long, and the rocks are starting to, like Kevin Trantham in our broadcast said yesterday, literally growing up out of the ground. When the dirt gets chipped away from them and they get pulled up out of the ground, they just seem to get bigger and bigger, and they seem to grow. And that's what the Fmf PowerPoint is going to consist of. And I know those ATVs kicked a lot of rocks up yesterday. And talking with Jason Thomas from the Fmf Xc3 class, I was talking with him about his position, how he felt about when he says, you know, I'm real confident in the bike. And here comes our leaders now already as, was that Ricky Russell? I didn't catch the number.
I didn't quite catch it.
It's either that or we got the GNCC guy out right.
Yeah.
It was Russell quite possibly out there. Or John, hey, you never even thought about that. Josh Toth. We got to take into consideration that he is too still a factor in that. That looked like maybe Thad Duvall. Like it is Ricky Russell going through the finish line there. So Rough and Rowdy is out front in this one to kick things off today, Mikey Waynes. And you know, I've said it in years past, and I've seen him do well here before. But something about this particular venue, for me, I seem to think that Ricky Russell should excel at coming out of Washington. I just envision that he rode a lot of mountains, a lot of rocks, and a lot of roots. And whether or not that's the case, he does always seem to do well here, and he's doing great today with the early lead. But Trevor Bollinger, remember we were talking about the time adjustments and being an advantage there on the second row. Well, Trevor Bollinger on a JCR 250 today instead of the 450 that he's been riding. He elected to go ahead and ride the 250 in the rocks and stuff. He says he does a lot better, but he's leading the overall on time adjustments right now. That would put Ricky Russell in second. Caleb Russell is now third overall. Caleb is about 4 seconds behind Ricky Russell. Grant Baylor, that was Grant Baylor. No, Grant Baylor's on time adjustments, so Grant Baylor's up to fourth. There's another rider that might fare well in the time adjustments. Thad Duvall, the 989, is fifth overall after time adjustments on this first lap as, well, he drops back to sixth now as we see a little bit of a change. So it's Bollinger, Russell Bobbitt. So it's Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, Russell Bobbitt, 2, 3, and 4 right now. Man, that's going to be a tongue twister. Grant Baylor is 5th. Thad Duval in 6th. Josh Strang is 7th. Now, Stu Baylor's position drops back to 8th after some time adjustments. Austin Lee, your first rider through in the XC2 250 class. Actually, he was on the second row, I think, of the XC2 class, 3 seconds behind. He is actually leading the overall after time adjustments. Look at this. He turned a 19-second faster lap than Jesse Grom, who's physically in the lead right now. And looks like third place in the class is Michael Witkowski, the 282. At least that was before the update set in. Let's see how that's standing now. It's still Lee, Grom, and Witkowski, 1, 2, and 3 in the 250 Pro class. Fourth place is Lane Michael, the 523 right now. Michael is 13th place overall as we look at this. And back in the number 15 position overall, it's the rider out of Wales, UKJT as we call him, the Fmf Xc3 class leader right now. He is running a 14th place position. Ryan Sipes, our motocross hero, is running in the number 15 spot. We got Ben Kelly, another rider we should probably keep an eye and ear out for today. XC2 250 Pro Class rider is 16th overall to open things up early on. Benjamin Kelly 17th, Francis is 18th, and 19th is, well, Nick Davis just checked in. He's getting an advantage with that time adjustment. He is now 18th place overall. We see that Vance Francis is 19th. Scotty Grills rounds out the top 20. So good day for Austin Lee. Had a chance to talk to him. You know, he's really heartbroken over the last round. I mean, he finally was getting in the position where he wanted to be and had some issues. I think rear brakes went out, I think, if memory serves me correct. Ended up dropping back to 4th in the class. And he says, you know, I'm on the cusp of it, but I just can't seem to break that 4th place curse. And he says, I'm really hoping that today, you know, things work out to be a little bit different. And well, obviously, we're seeing that things are starting out quite nice here on lap number 1 as we take a look at this. Now, as far as the time on the racetrack right now, I think we've seen some, 30 minutes or so, 30-plus minutes, a little over 30 minutes of racing since we flew that first green flag out there. And with that, seems like things may be... There we go. We got some more riders checking in. We see some more of those XC2 250 Pro guys. With the time adjustments, be interesting to see how they are in class. So we'll scroll down here to the XC2 250 Pro class. It is, wow, Josh Toth. I'm sorry. I
didn't see him on there either.
Josh Toth on the overall. Let's see.
Maybe transponder problems. Maybe they had to enter him manually, or maybe we just missed it. I don't know.
Well, let's look down through here on the overall.
Oh, no, that's Strang.
There's Strang, but I don't see Toth on the overall right now. But I do see him leading the XC2 250 Pro class. So how that worked out, I don't know. But that does put Austin Lee 15 seconds back in the number 2 spot. We got Jesse Grom in 3rd on the 15. Then we had Mike Witkowski in 4th. Lane Michael, the 523, in 5th. Benjamin Kelly in 6th. Nick Davis, the 527, is 7th. Zach Nolan, the 721, one of West Virginia's own out of Masontown. We'll be going there later in the fall this year. Nolan in the 8th place position. Brendan Riordan, the 228 out of Upton, Massachusetts, in 9th. Ryder Lafferty out of Millville, New Jersey, the nephew of Michael Lafferty, former national champion there, is running in the 10th place position. National Hare Scrambles, I believe, is what we know Mike Lafferty as. And I'll tell you, man, he has always been a great face to see around, and seeing the legacy, even though it's a nephew out here riding like this, I think that's pretty cool to have him out riding with us. And he's been doing quite well. Okay, so look. Okay, now
he's there.
There it is now. It wasn't there a moment ago. They must have had to manually input him for transponder issues. We saw that with Chris Borich yesterday. So don't freak out if you're watching at home saying, "I saw him go through, but he's not on the score," or whatever. Where did he come from? He wasn't on the scoreboard. it could be a transponder issue. They calculate this and they go back and they review some stuff and they try to put them in as close to the exact time that they scored in. And that's why we see now Josh Toth in the number 4 position. That splits the Russells up with Russell Bobbitt.
Yeah.
So that won't be as much of a tongue twister now. So it's now Trevor Bollinger, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, 1, 2, and 3. Josh Toth in 4th, Russell Bobbitt in 5th, Grant Baylor 6th, Thad Duvall 7th. 8th place, Josh Strang, 9th place, Stu Baylor. Austin Lee rounds out the top 10, and it does have him now 2nd in that XC2 250 Pro class. More riders checking in as we watch. We just saw Craig DeLong coming in there a few moments ago. He was followed up by some 4-stroke A lights riders. We're talking Cole Madison checking in there a moment ago. We saw Josh Lee checking in. Open A class leader also checking in. Bainbridge, Ohio's Levi Keller, number 185. He checks in leading that class right now. See Hunter Neuwirth, he's in the Fmf Xc3 class, that 125 division, and he is 2nd behind Jason Thomas right now. That's about a 4-minute and 39-second gap we have between 1st and 2nd place in the class, but that could change. Hunter Neuwirth, a rider out of Connecticut, one of those New Englanders, I guess you could say. So those are the guys that are kind of the unknown variables when we come into places like this, because several of those guys that I've noted over the years always seem to excel in some of the more tougher, challenging technical conditions like what we have here at Snowshoe.
I think Dave Quellen is out there racing Fmf Xc3 today. I saw him, Friday, and he said he was going to be racing DQ, so I'm not sure where he's at.
Yes, he is. I was talking to him prior to the start of the race. He was hanging out down with us at the Maxxis truck and kind of just enjoying the shade, talking about a few things. And yep, he's actually wearing trials boots. They were like, well, what kind of boots are those? Those riding boots? He says these are trials boots. They're a lot like a regular riding boot, but they've got traction. He said he's had them since the muddy race, since before the muddy race at Mammoth, which was something like 2012 or 2013 or something like. He says he always pulls them out in the muddy races, and they always seem to perform a lot better. They're not as heavy a type of boot and stuff, so he figured it was time to bring him out here at Snowshoe. So we'll see if his lighter boots are going to help him in his efforts today or not. See Chris Vendetti checking in from the XC2 class. I'm going to go in and Chris also qualified for Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Motocross Championship, I'm being told. And he did it, believe it or not, GNCC style. He had a Woods tank on at the regional qualifier. So congratulations to Chris Vendetti on that. And we'll be watching for him down there this summer, that's for sure. Okay, so look at the masses of riders that have been coming through as of recently. You know, I don't think that we really have had any major bottlenecks or anything so far yet. It doesn't look like it. I mean, we're getting these guys through in a pretty steady way. There are a few situations where we see them coming through in the bunches, but for the most part, they're keeping pretty steady. And there they come, another one, and then 2 more behind him, another one behind him. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, at least right now for these guys. When yesterday, whole lot different situation. They come through in waves and packs at a time because of all the bottlenecks and the different obstacles that they were having to face.
Maybe these guys are looking at it today and seeing the delay we had this morning, the delay we had yesterday, and thinking, you know what, I'm going to go out there on that first lap. I'm not going to push it because I can't win it on the first lap. I'm going to hold off, learn this track a little bit. But even at that, the way even, Kevin Trantham was talking about it yesterday, this track, it seems to change lap after lap. It's different almost every time you come across something.
Right, and again, not only is it going to be different, but you're actually, with today's extra length, it's going to be a little tougher to retain that information. So it's going to be kind of new to you about every time you go through, I think. We got top 5 through now in the Fmf Xc3 125. Kevin Grogg, we need you to rider registration. Kevin Grogg, please report to rider registration. As we were saying, we're looking at the Fmf Xc3 125 Pro-Am class. Thomas out front of that one with Hunter Neuwirth in 2nd. Mark Horesco out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the 412 machine. He is running in the number 3 spot. And as you said, DQ himself from DQ Tune, David Quillen, Out of Canby, Indiana, the 567 running, and the 4th place position, Reverend Devin Welch. Young rider. When I first began, early in my career of announcing, I remember this young rider, I believe. He's not so young now, I'm sure, as he was then. But I remember announcing for this guy several times over the course of time. So good to see Devin Welch out here at out of Canal Winchester. I'm thinking it's the same guy out of the same. Might be his boy. I don't know. You never know. But that's the 311 out there in the Fmf Xc3, and that's the only ones that we are seeing from that particular division that have checked in with us. As far as the XC1 and 2 are concerned, again, giving you the rundown, it is Trevor Bollinger, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, Russell Bobbitt, and Grant Baylor, your top 5. Thad Duvall is 6th, Josh Strang in 7th, Stu Baylor in 8th, Vance Francis 9th, Jordan Ashburn is 10th, Chris Bach, Ryan Sipes, and Scott Grills rounds out 11, 12, and 13 now. There's some names right there you don't necessarily expect to see in those positions, so that must tell the tale of the tape out here that there are some challenges out there. Josh Toth, Austin Lee, Jesse Grom, 1, 2, and 3 in the XC2. Michael Wachowski is 4th, Craig DeLong in the number 5 spot. Then Lane Michael is 6th aboard the 523. The number 12, Benjamin Kelly, is 7th. Nick Davis in 8th aboard the 527. 9th is Zach Nolan. And 10th place, Ben Riordan. And just checking in right now, seeing some of those Senior A guys checking there with Jeff Staples a few moments ago. Zach Hugel was just ahead of him. Also Jeffrey Odell, Senior A 40-plus class leader. We only got a 10-second battle between first and second, it looks like, in the Senior A class right now. Again, time adjustments. There's a lot of those Senior A guys. Those time adjustments are going to come in here in a few moments. We might even see that dance around a little bit. But we'll take a look at that in just a moment. I'm looking at, I'm going to scan down here early in the race to give you an idea of how things are shaping up. And then you'll see how things change throughout the course of the day. We'll come back to that 250A class, or excuse me, that Senior A class in just a moment. Also, it looks like we need to wait on the Vet A's. We've only got one 25-plus A, B guy in there. How's the 4-stroke? Hey, there we go. We got the 4-stroke A lights guys. I believe these riders started, yeah, they were row 14, right behind the last row of Fmf Xc3 125 class riders. Wouldn't surprise me to see some of these guys in a solid top 20 overall, inching toward top 10, depending on how things go today. But leading this one out of Statesboro, Georgia, the 210, Josh Lee. Cole Madison out of Inman, South Carolina, actually had the physical lead. He came through the finish line checkers, or the finish line barrels first, but it was Josh Lee on time adjustments that actually took over the lead. Tyler Braniff out of Terre Haute, West Virginia, 421 is 3rd. 4th place, Ryan Slopko from Londonderry, Ohio. 5th place at 961, Matt Tabani out of Savoy, Massachusetts in the 4-stroke A lights. And it's the 85, Connor Keegan out of Coal Center, PA. And 6th, 7th, the 84, Justin Murphy from Morgantown, West Virginia. Ona, West Virginia, home to Braden Moore, the 967. And 8th, 9th place, Caleb Williams, the 540 from Jefferson, PA. And Colin Keegan from Coal Center, PA, the number 50, rounds out the top 10 4-stroke A lights class. Let's look at another one of these A classes. How about a quick check of the 200A class? We've got 6 of those riders in so far. We got the 95 of Sarasota, Florida's Cash Jacobs, only 4.9 seconds back is the 940 of Josh Brown out of Pittsburgh. Then another 16 seconds back, the 539 of Hank Hayes from Oakdale, Pennsylvania. Eli Childers out of Hickory, North Carolina. Eli's coming, my friends, at 3:39. Is in 4th place, Clinton Masters, the 425 out of Morgantown, West Virginia, in 5th, and Brody Johnson, 235 out of Landrum, South Carolina, running in 6th. You look at the gaps on this, and I'm assuming that these guys probably started on the same row. Let's take a quick look at the 200A class. We had Cass Jacobs, Eli Childers, Johnny Manera, Nathan Davis, and Hunter Reimer all on that first row in that 200A bike class. So we see some guys that might be faring a little better. Actually, some of the guys from the front row of that class hasn't even checked in yet. Hank Hayes came through. He was row 21. He's 3rd place overall right now in, well, not overall, but 3rd place in the 200A class, followed by 4th place Childers. Clint Masters in 5th aboard the 425, again out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Childers out of Hickory, North Carolina. Johnson out of Landrum, South Carolina. And Millville, New Jersey. to Johnny Manera. Johnny Manera to 357. So, you know, Vail, North Carolina, Nathan Davis, y'all, 463. I figured since I threw something in there
That's right.
for an East Coaster, I could throw something in there for North Carolina, y'all. That's the same thing here in all across the Great South. That's what I love about that. But that's the top 8 so far in the 200A class. As we look next to the 250A class, we ought to see some pretty good things going on in here. J.J. Johnson, Jonathan Johnson out of Landrum, South Carolina. Good to see that name up to the top of the list here again. And he's got a 5-second lead over Alex Teagarden. Wow, Alex, going to be a tough one to contend with today out of Waynesburg, PA in second. 570, Matthew Kiefer from Monroe Township, PA. Fourth place, Bradley Louder out of Saluda, North Carolina, 381. Fifth spot, the 990, Cody Barnes from Sterling, Illinois. Sixth place, the 36 of Chase Hayes from Sumter, South Carolina. Eric Douglas, 75.
There we go. Is this up the FMF PowerPoint?
Yep, sure is. And that's still Ricky Russell out front, the number 212, man. And that's look at those rocks, man. How much bigger? If you were watching yesterday, you can see a lot of those rocks have grown, and he's basically skipping up that hill right now, as it looks like it's kind of washed out. Maybe got a little bit of a rollerboard effect, maybe even a kind of whoop section. Johnny Gallagher wanting to know where the booth is.
I wondered about him. I thought, man, he's probably out there looking for us. So there's Caleb Russell working his way up FMF PowerPoint right now. Pretty good distance between the two of them. Not quite the distance we saw yesterday with Walker Fowler, but we did have to pan around a little bit to find second place.
Wow, here we go. They are tightening up a little bit, but wow, how awesome is that to see that.
So Ricky Russell still out in front.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. So Ricky Russell still your leader out in front as we're looking at our pro guys running up the FMF PowerPoint and taking a look at it. Again, well, where to go? With the time adjustment, Trevor Bollinger, I didn't catch him running up there. I'm assuming we missed him. So the number 5 of Trevor Bollinger was our leader after 1. Of course, they'll go on the other side of the mountain for lap number 2. So you can call that lap number 2, or you can call it a whole one, whatever you want to do. It's that's our little tribute there to the Blackwater 100, a 21.6 mile course today. And as our riders are making their way up there, to give you a rundown again, that was Ricky Russell out in front. Of course, with the time adjustment with Trevor Bollinger on one of the further rows back, that puts him out in front. But that was physically Ricky Russell out front. Caleb Russell was running second physically. Again, the time adjustment would make the difference there. Look at the crowd. I feel like we got a bigger crowd there at the hill climb today than yesterday. Howard's Hole, of course, where it's at, but maybe a lot of our spectators out there heard about this FMF PowerPoint being so rough and difficult that it has absolutely drawn a crowd out there. So that's where they're gathering. But again, Josh Toth out of the XC2 class, he is up there in the 4th place spot. Yeah, I don't get anything.
Test 1, 2. There I am.
I hear you loud and clear.
All right, getting some reports. I'm not being heard through the PA right now, so hopefully I'm going to work on this for a second. Actually, I'm going to switch.
You want to flip-flop?
Yeah, let's do that.
There we go. So we're going to put Rodney on 3.
Yeah, so Rodney now to oh, wow, now I'm blowing my ear out.
Now you're blowing your ear out. Now we can hear you.
I can hear me now for sure. So let us know if we're not coming through, I guess. All right, Mikey, what did I miss, man?
Well, we had, we're looking up at the FMF PowerPoint. It was Ricky Russell well out in front. I didn't catch Trevor Bollinger. I'm guessing I missed the guy. But the number 5 of Trevor Bollinger went through. Caleb Russell was off the pace of Ricky Russell. I would say, I don't know what, under 10 seconds, but it was in there. Here comes Johnny G now. So Johnny's able to, he finally found us.
Johnny Gallagher finally making his way here. I'm really happy to see that Johnny is here with us, to be honest with you, because after some of the reports that I heard from yesterday's here, let's do this. I'm going to go back to this one because I don't know.
if there's any difference.
We're playing musical headsets here in the booth today.
Yeah, well, you guys are playing musical headsets. I'm playing hide and go seek with the TV booth. Looks like, is that Jordan Ashburn on screen?
Yep.
It sure is. The number 4 factory beta, Jordan Ashburn, working his way down the pavement, got that water bottle hanging. Means he just stopped into the VP Fuels Pro route, got himself some service, most likely some gas, because they've been going on 500 miles already. And looks like, who do we have there? Well, it was hard to tell who that was, but yeah, it was challenging to find, like, these guys are struggling or working hard to find their way around the Snowshoe course. I was struggling and working hard trying to find my way around the Snowshoe pits to find the RacerTV trailer. A little bit of, I'm gonna have to start walking my course for Sundays to find the TV trailer before I take off and do all the prep.
I've been battling it all weekend, and I knew where it was at. But the way they start the races, they go across the roadway. So if I got caught on that side when the race started, I couldn't get to announcing until after the race was well started. So I feel your pain.
It was. Well, we're here now, and we're calling the action from GNCC Racing, hashtag GNCC Live at Snowshoe Mountain, and what an event it's been so far, folks. This is like unlike anything else that you experience in off-road racing. This truly is, I can tell you, the toughest race in America. We've called it that for years, and there's times where it's really billed it or lived up to that billing, or even possibly exceeded that, but this year it has really exceeded that. There is Caleb Russell, and if we go ahead and refresh our scoring, it looks as though, let's see, we've got, with 1 lap complete, looks like it is still Ricky Russell leading the way. 18.6 seconds behind is Caleb Russell. And then we have Thad Duvall now checking in, which puts him into the 3rd place spot, 17.6 seconds behind Caleb Russell. So your top 3 as they run, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, and Thad Duvall. So those are the guys that we kind of expected to see up front here. Ricky Russell, obviously always tough in these rocky, slick conditions. Caleb Russell has won this race a number of times. And Thad Duvall, I got to be honest with you, coming in, I don't want to say expected, but I thought there was a chance that Thad Duvall might run away with the win here. Trevor Bollinger now coming through in the 4th place spot, number 5 on that JCR Honda. He is another rider that we should expect to see do well here today after his career best 2nd place overall finish here last year behind Caleb Russell from that XC2 Pro Lights class when he was just on a little 250. Now he's on that big JCR Honda CRF 450, got a few more ponies to get up and down this mountain a little bit faster, and he could be a real threat to win this one here today. He likes the gnarly conditions. He's a big, strong guy, and you know, it's paying off for him so far, running in that 4th place position within striking distance of the leaders. You know, Mikey, as we watch this, one thing that's I'm sure you guys have probably already commented on is kind of the lack of traffic, or the lack of riders coming through. Really attributes itself to just how tough this course is and how spread out the riders get quickly. There is Jordan Ashburn, so that's 5th place now. The number 4 factory beta, Jordan Ashburn. He takes off, and folks, where they're headed right now, let me think of how to say this. It's tough. They're headed off on the, I guess this would be the east side of the mountain. And as they head off on this side, man, they're preparing themselves to traverse some things on dirt bikes that never were intended by nature. So it's a GNCC track crew laid out a really interesting course, and we'll just leave it at that. It's unique for sure. It's unlike anything that we've ridden anywhere ever. I was making the comment last night several times, even though I unfortunately due to a crash was only able to make 1 lap. It was some of the stuff that we rode was the toughest stuff I've ever seen laid out. Which is a great challenge for XC1 riders like we're seeing here, Stu Baylor on screen, and for mere mortals and, you know, A riders and B riders, it's more than a challenge. It's the ultimate challenge. It's America's toughest race. It's not actually a race, it's an obstacle course. If you can make it around, you should consider yourself accomplished. There we see Josh Strang, the number 114 machine. Another rider that he's done well here some years, and the last couple years it seems that he has kind of struggled in these conditions. Austin Lee there, the 123. We'll have to see. That may be, oh, it does look like Craig DeLong has checked in, as has Jesse Grom. So 3rd place would be Austin Lee in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So leading the way is Craig DeLong, 2nd place Jesse Grom, and Austin Lee in 3rd. So there's your top 3 in that XC2 Pro Lights class, and all 3 of those guys are within the top, well, I guess Austin Lee 12th overall. So 2 of those guys are in the top 10 overall, and now we see the melee beginning with rider after rider. There we see Chris Bach, looks like that might have been Mike Witkowski. We see Lane Michael there, a rider that we expect to excel in these conditions, and he is back now, looks to be in that 4th place position in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So as we run down the top 20, or at least the top 17 that we have through so far, it is Ricky Russell leading the way, Caleb Russell in 2nd. There is Jason Thomas right there on screen, the number 125 on the 125, the leader in your XC3 Pro Lights, or Pro 125 class. He is 17th overall. We'll work our way down to him, starting off with Ricky Russell, the 212 Ampro Yamaha from Duvall, Washington, leading the way and making it look fairly easy right now. Those long legs coming into work. A guy that doesn't have such long legs, but has a long laundry list of wins and a resume that leads itself to believe that he could obviously be a threat here today to win this. Caleb Russell on the number 1 factory FMF KTM. Thad Duvall on the Rockstar Husqvarna in 3rd. Josh Toth, another one of those Ampro Yamahas. Actually, I'm sorry, there is your XC2 Pro Lights leader. My bad, skipped right over him. He's so far up there in that 4th place spot. But again, he did start on that front row, so he had a time advantage. He was the only XC2 rider on the front row, meaning he was in the top 5 in points coming into this race. So he sits in that 4th place spot. Trevor Bollinger in 5th, Ben Kelly in 6th, Grant Baylor in 7th, Craig DeLong in 8th, Russell Bob at 9th, Jesse Grom 10th, Stu Baylor Jr. in 11th, Austin Lee 12th, Josh Strang 13th, 14th is Ryan Sipes, 15th is Chris Bach, 16th Lane Michael, 17th Jason Thomas, the leader of the XC3 class, Mike Witkowski is 18th, Vance Francis 19th, and it says Jordan Ashburn in 20th, but actually all of those are going to be bumped down one more because Jordan Ashburn is much higher up than that. His transponder must not be working. We saw him come through, so we're sure that they will correct that in the results. Jordan Ashburn was in the, I believe, 5th place spot, 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
And he's not showing up on screen there, so we did physically see him come through the finish, so everybody after about the 5th or 6th is going to be bumped down 1. The rest of your top 4 will remain the same. So those are the guys that they're leading the way here. You know, Mikey, this is it's a tough course, it's a dynamic course, and it's a beautiful facility up here on top, but what lurks in the woods below is anything but beautiful.
I was going to say I couldn't agree more, but I shouldn't say that because I have not raced the track like you did yesterday. And you know what? Kevin Trantham, he was actually in the booth with us yesterday saying the exact same thing. He said he felt like some of these tree roots would be sticking, 2 feet up out of the ground, looking like an exhaust land there. And it was just a rough one.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the conditions were rough. The racing action is intense, and we're going to have much more of it when we come back after a word from our sponsors.
GNCC is Bald Eagle, 50 cal, cowboy boots, diesel trucks, Copenhagen, Bush Light kind of men.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best? The best. You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
For those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
I'm Barry Hawk, 8-time GNCC champion, current Coastal Racing team manager. Coastal Racing depends on Evans coolant because there is a lot of variables in GNCC racing. Toughest, most demanding sports there is. From my experience, without a doubt, Evans is the way to go. We have it in all of our race bikes, our race ATVs, our UTVs. It is for sure, without a doubt, a must on our race team. The pros use Evans coolant, and so should you.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Mikey Waynes along with Johnny G, Johnny Gallagher. And Rodney Tomlin will be joining us in just a moment, out working on a few little technical difficulties. That's just kind of been the story of the weekend. As rough as it's been for the riders, I think it's been the same thing for us. Working on it's second day in a row we've had the big delay. And Johnny, I think that all that speaks to is just how rough this track is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, tough conditions. And the unique thing about this property, this facility, and this race is it is kind of its own event. As much as it is obviously an integral part of the 13-race series, it really is a standalone challenge in and of its own, in that the terrain is so different from anything that we race anywhere else. The conditions in conjunction with the terrain, when it rains, it gets exponentially more difficult. And then the fact that we've got so much ground here to work with on both sides of the mountain, they're able to lay out such a long loop that they do this unique double loop setup where you get scored every time you come back to the center and it counts as a lap. So, you know, like in the case of yesterday, they did, I don't know if it was 6 or 7 laps, but it would have actually been 3.5 laps complete. So it is different in that regard. But a lot of things change when you change up the dynamics and the conditions for the racing. And we see that, you know, Mikey, you and I were just talking while we were away at break there about the fact that we have 4 XC2 riders in our top 10. And we need to give a shout out and an apology to Benjamin Kelly, the Trail Jesters KTM rider, who is running second in that XC2 class, XC2 Pro Lights. We're just kind of bouncing over him, obviously mentioning him, completely neglecting to point out the fact that he is second in that XC2 Pro Lights class and chasing down fellow Northeasterner Josh Toth. So those two guys are up front. And if you look at the time adjustment there, Ben Kelly was actually only 9 seconds behind Josh Kelly. Or I'm sorry, we're gonna back that up. Ben Kelly was only 9 seconds behind Josh Toth when they checked in last. So that's a heated battle between two guys that have come up through the ranks together. Good friends, actually traveled together for quite some time from what I believe to be the case. I would always see them in the same van coming and going from the races, and, you know, their family coming with them. Sometimes they travel together, sometimes separately, but nonetheless, you know, that's cool when you see two guys that have come up through the ranks together from the same area. They travel so far away to come to these GNCC races and to see them run 1-2. We've actually seen this before, to be honest with you. At the Limestone GNCC last year, they both were running in the top 3 early, but it was actually, I believe, Ben Kelly who was able to hang on, and Josh Toth had a little bit of an issue, or maybe it was Toth who was able to hang on to the podium, and Kelly who had a little bit of an issue. But they were running 1-2 and running away from the field early in, stamp it, rocky, slippery, muddy conditions like we have here today. So those guys, you know, they're J-Day boys, they're Northeastern, you know, rippas, and they know how to ride the slick stuff. They're great technical riders. They've grown up in it, and they're killing it right now in that XC2 class going 1-2. Obviously, Josh Toth has been absolutely killing it all year, and, you know, he's rocking, I believe, 6 wins coming into this event. And then Ben Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, had his first podium at the last race in New York. He ended up in that 3rd place spot. So, you know, he's kind of coming on strong here as of late. And, you know, one thing, Mikey, you know, when you see guys come up through the ranks together, one of them starts to shine. It really, there's 2 ways it can go. That the other guy, whether it's a brother, a friend, you know, somebody from the same local series, it can kind of motivate them to, you know, really kind of find their groove and chase it, because it's like, man, hey, I've raced with this guy, beat him countless times, we're on the same level, and all of a sudden, you know, he's up here doing this. Or you can get frustrated and, you know, kind of drive yourself in a not good direction. And it seems these last couple of races that Ben Kelly is really finding his groove and chasing down Josh Toth, his good friend, and in the process, it's pushing him past a lot of other XC2 riders, and today pushing him to 6th place overall and 2nd in that XC2 Pro Lights class.
Yeah, it's certainly impressive, and you're right about that momentum. I mean, coming prior to round 7, Ben Kelly, the best he'd done was 6th place. He had 2 6th place finishes, a couple 13th place. So to see him in round 7 come away with a 3rd place podium finish, and now out here trying to chase down Josh Toth and put his name in the hat maybe for that #1 spot out of the XC2 today, that would be something else, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I don't really know exactly just how close those two are, but I would have to imagine that, you know, they probably wouldn't rather be battling anybody else than each other. You know, coming up, like I said, running the same local series for years, coming from the same area. They were both sponsored by that Trail Jesters team for quite some time. I know they were helping them out with getting to the races, and it was a great setup they had going. It turned out that halfway through the season last year, Randy Hawkins and that NFAB Ampro Yamaha team needed a fill-in rider. They found Josh Toth. They said, hey, we've got a bike for you. He went and won on it. His first win in the first race with the team and on the bike. Caught some momentum from there, had some podiums to close out the year. Obviously, they put in the work during the offseason, and man, he came out this year just absolutely on fire. He's been virtually unstoppable, save for the one mud race at Indiana where he did not get the win. But every race other than that, it's just, you know, Zach Nolan actually came through. And that's a rider that I expect to see a little bit higher up than what we're seeing him so far because, you know, in these conditions, this is kind of his jam, man. This is his stuff. So he seems to be struggling a little bit so far, but you never know when he might find his groove and work his way up through there. But, yeah, you see these guys working their way up through here. And this is pretty deceiving with just how tough this section is. It looks like they're just riding up a hill, but in reality, they're climbing a wall. And you can see when they lose momentum, they come to an abrupt stop quickly. You can't make a mistake there. This is something that you have to be committed to work your way up. And this actually comes up to the backside of the VP Fuels Pro Row. Oh, look at this. The crowd is scattering. We got riders shooting into the crowd, and that's the part of the hands-on GNCC racing. You get to help. You get to be a mud flea. You can pull, but you also are in harm's way when things get wild. So that's why we have you know, those riders that excel in those conditions that don't need the help, and some that do. And you know, one rider that doesn't seem to be needing any help right now is the number 212 from Duvall, Washington, Ricky Russell, rough and rowdy, as Rodney likes to call him. He's leading the way right now and making it look pretty easy. And actually, we had an opportunity to speak with Ricky and find out a little bit more about him before the race today.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, every GNCC season's had its ups and downs, but this one's, we've been consistent. Every weekend we've been up there, at least fighting, feel like we're competitive. So this weekend we'll see. I mean, it's rocky and nasty here. It's real wet. I saw some quads come out buried, looking muddy, so we'll see. I've never done real good here, but it's technical, and I usually like the technical stuff, so we'll see. I just need to put my head down and make it through the full 3 hours pushing. It's a little different. I kind of like dead engine starts because I usually get pretty good starts, but we're front row, top, because it goes by points, so top 5 overall, and so we'll start with the front guys. It's kind of a little bit different because a row behind you, he could, or 2 rows behind you, he could be not in front of you, but still beating you, so you don't really know. I think last year lost a position or 2 because they were just close to me and I didn't know that. So it's a little different, but just need to go out there and being on the front row, I feel like if I stay with those guys or if I'm in front of those guys, I'm where I need to be.
And there you go, a little bit from the man himself. He's out front making it look easy. We've seen him in the position to win one of these things a few times, and actually this year quite a bit. Ended up last year really strong with 3 podiums in the last 4 races. And then so far this year, I see, you know, Mikey, you got the results pulled up there. It's been a bit of an up and down season, but he's kind of been getting stronger as things go.
Yeah, he's been right there. I'm not going to say middle of the pack by any means, but a couple 5th place finish, couple 7th. He saw his best race in round number 6. If I remember, that was X Factor, right?
Yep.
X Factor. So round number 6.
I liked that one, by the way.
Yes, you did. I think you did, man, taking the win there. So X Factor, he had the podium finish in 3rd. That's the best he's done this season, but certainly a guy that has flirted, you know, with the podium finish. It seems like he's just always in the thick of things throughout the race day and just not quite able to make it happen by the end of it.
Yeah, and when you think about it, when you think back to that X Factor, he was the rider who led the majority of that, and when that was back and forth with Thad Duvall until the very end, when Thad was able to really turn the pace up, and talking to Ricky after the race, he was kind of frustrated because it wasn't necessarily that Thad just rode away from him. Ricky really made some bad decisions, got in some bad lines he didn't need to be in, and actually ended up in a battle for his life over that 2nd place spot with Josh Strang, which he unfortunately ended up losing. So he was 2nd all day, battling with Thad for the win, and at the end it kind of all came out and unraveled. To still be on the podium in his best race of the year, obviously he was happy, but he was really frustrated. I think he thought that was kind of his best shot so far at winning one of these things, and well, maybe he can make that right today. Took some people 23 years to figure out all their mistakes to, you know, lose every way you can find to lose before you find the one way it takes to win. Well, maybe for Ricky Russell, it only takes that one that he had to toss his way, or maybe let slip from his grasp is a better way to put it there at the X Factor. And maybe today will be the day that he's able to get it done. But, you know, you got to think about it, Mike. If you're Ricky Russell, you're leading this thing. You got a 18-second lead, and then another 17 seconds behind that. There's the 3rd place rider. I'm just going to throw this out there. Who are 2 riders you would not want to have behind you?
Well, one would be Caleb Russell, who's in second. The
Oh,
other,
wow, that's a bummer. That's unfortunate.
So yeah, bummer for Ricky, but hey, he's up there right now. I mean, so
he knew when he lined up that he was going to have to race those guys and everybody else. I'm sure he was ready for it, prepared for it, and he's showing that right now. But I can tell you right now, if he had his choice of 2 riders he could pick and say, okay, these are the guys I want to be in second and third, it wouldn't be those 2.
Certainly not.
They would be near the bottom of the list of his choices, but he's making it work, and this is no fluke, folks. This guy's the real deal. A few years ago here when he was just a rookie that we didn't really know much about, and he was kind of flirting with almost getting into the top 10 in that XC1 class in his first season, driving here from Washington in a van, staying in Randy Hawkins' bunkhouse, had kind of made a bedroom out of a storage closet. You know, this is a true journeyman of GNCC racing, and this was kind of his first breakthrough ride. He ran up in the top 5, I believe it was, for a while, and ultimately finished, I think, in the top 10. We'd have to look way back to 2013 for those results, but just take my word for it. It was a good ride for him, and man, I got to believe that he had a little bit extra swagger coming in here today, knowing how well he rides in these conditions and showing that now. But, yeah, I mean, this place, Mikey, it's such a unique facility, such a unique setup of the course, and such a unique opportunity for fans to really, like we talked about, kind of have some hands-on impact. I wasn't here in the booth, so I'm going to have to ask, do we have a camera at Howard's Home?
We did, and something happened. I think one of the 4x4s yesterday ripped out some fiber optic cables.
You know what? Those quads, they ruin everything.
Yeah, that's 4x4s, right?
You really, no, quads
all
in general.
all of them.
You really can't have nice things. When you have quads around, you just can't have nice things. That's just how it is. Quad guys are, they're terrible.
It's from your mouth, not mine. I didn't say it. Let it be known.
Hashtag nuke the quads.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There we go. That's a quad guy saying that. Just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll take credit. It's a little bit of sarcasm.
So what, Johnny? What's the mindset? Because this race is completely different. The format is starting, 5 on a row, and the time adjustment. Is there more of a mental battle coming into a race like this? Because just when you come through the finish, that you don't necessarily know you're out in front. The guy behind you a few rows with the time adjustment could be in front of you. So what kind of games does that play in your head?
Honestly, how do I say this? It's something that everybody really does talk about, think about, strategize about before the race, but only once in recent history that I can recall has that time adjustment ever come into play for a win. I mean, obviously it does come into play for positions. Yesterday we saw that with the overall podium in the XC1 class and overall. Chris Borch physically finishing second. Kevin Yoho, Kevin Yoho, first podium ever. Pretty pumped for him, good friend of mine, and probably one of my worst days in my racing career turned out to be one of his best. So I'm going to be as happy for him as I am bummed for myself, and was super excited for him and that being our motorsports crew to get the second place finish, and he was able to do that without physically finishing ahead of Chris Borch. And the reason was Kevin was back on, I believe, row 6, so that equates to a minute because it's 10 seconds between rows. So he only had to be within a minute of Chris, who started on row 1. But within, the guys that we're seeing battling on screen for the most part so far, the majority of those guys started in the first 4 rows. So they're all within, say, basically 30 seconds of each other. And these races typically aren't decided by 30 seconds up on this mountain. I mean, for sure it could happen, and it's something to consider. So the preparation that goes into it, I think, like I said, everybody strategizes and thinks about it, but when it comes right down to it, you kind of leave that stuff to your pit crew. You let them do the math, figure it all out, and say, look, the last lap you need to go faster because so-and-so is less than 20 seconds behind you. But the racing out on the mountain is where it's all decided. And right now it's being decided that it's tough. We see so few riders checking in, so few riders coming through. Folks at home watching know this is not a low attendance GNCC. This is just how long it takes for exceptional riders in the amateur classes. These are the best guys in the world or in the country within their age and specific categories in classes that are struggling to even make laps. So this course is tough. If you have an inkling or desire to want to ride something that is really going to test you mentally, physically, and honestly, emotionally, come ride the Snowshoe GNCC. And I know a lot of people who do just that. They come, they race just this one race a year just because they want to test themselves against this mountain. And there we see the Moto Fro right there. He's testing himself against the paved road. This is obviously not one of the tougher parts of the course, but it gets you from point A to point B and throws you right back into those gnarly woods. Rodney Tomlin hopping back in here. And Rodney, you know, we're talking about just how rough this course is and how unique it is. And it kind of has been an evolution throughout the now 11 years that we've been here. You know, we started off in 2007 with a really tough course. Almost no roads whatsoever. It was just gnarly, gnarly, gnarly. And the different thing about this terrain is because it is so soft, which is strange to say because it's all rock, but the soil on top is so soft, when it gets ate out, it doesn't really lend itself to running those trails more than once because they get so dug out and exposed in roots and all the rocks. So they've kind of moved around the mountain, and really the only thing it does hold up is kind of these more rocky roads. I guess the consensus was over the years, okay, well, we'll run some more of that and we'll try and cut some new stuff in. And apparently I wasn't included in the the memo that this year they were going to go back and make it absolutely terrible. And that is exactly what happened. They ran the worst of the worst, the terrible stuff. They've had to make multiple changes to the course throughout the weekend to even make the course raceable and traversable. Now, I'm not a fan personally, but a lot of people.
Really, I couldn't tell by your comments, Johnny, at all.
But it doesn't. These race courses aren't built for me.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that come here for just this, and we've heard a lot of people over the years say this. You know, this isn't the toughest race. Blah, blah. Well, this year it is, and that's what Ryan Eccles and Jared Bolton were going for, and they got it, man. It was gnarly. I mean, they've had to remove huge miles and miles of this place that Caleb Russell could not make it through right now. So you certainly can't send the average guy out on that. So they did a great job with building a tough course. It may be not to my liking or to some people's likings, but it doesn't matter. There's courses that I love.
The flip side of that, Johnny, is I've heard a lot of other people, and I've talked to a lot of folks, not necessarily in the pro ranks, but riders that come just to do exactly what you're talking about, race the toughest race, come out of here thinking it's the greatest course they've ever ridden. They want more of this. They do this every week if they could. They say that anyway.
Sure,
no. Like that. And some people actually come, and their mindset is, if I can make just one lap around that place, I hope it's tough enough that it's tough for me to make one lap.
And so, we've talked about that in the past, and there are people, I think last year we were talking about it, or maybe it was 2 years ago, there was a guy who drove from somewhere 30 hours away, you know, Montana or somewhere, I can't even remember where it was, and he'd run into you and said, hey man, I'm here, my goal is just to make a lap. I've heard about how tough this place is. And we were kind of following his progress, and he did just that, made a lap. I don't think he made a second one, but he made a lap. So yeah, absolutely. The fact that it may not be my favorite conditions or course doesn't mean it's not everybody's.
I have to ask you, I go back and I ask you this question. Had your results been a little differently and you hadn't taken the tumble down the hill, do you think that the taste would be a little different? It might be how, you know, your mindset going in and what you thought you were going to finish and how it actually came out.
Yes and no, for sure, and I'll be honest about that. I think obviously if, you know, and my crash was my mistake. It wasn't the course. I mean, it was a treacherous part of the course, but everyone else made it, obviously. So it was my mistake that caused the crash. But to me, and again, this is just my personal feelings, a course like this is very difficult to race because of the fact that the conditions are so tough that when the course is changing and they're having to reroute and you have lappers in the mix, it does become a bit of a roll of the dice.
When we look at the big picture, I mean, you come from that era, and you remember that era anyway in particular. Blackwater, I mean, is that the kind of race that Blackwater
Sure, absolutely. I think this is absolutely a throwback to Blackwater.
In saying that, we probably are doing a great job.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Great. This is a huge, again, and it's an awesome facility. It's an awesome race. It's not that it's a negative. It's just very different from what the core, maybe would you say XC1, XC2 guys are kind of used to in GNCC, and it catches us off guard, you know, some years versus others. In the past, not so much. This year, look at this, Caleb Russell leading the way, and that is Thad Duvall. Is that our second place rider? We'll see when they check in here in a minute. It is, because there is the 212 of Ricky Russell. He does not have goggles on, so some things got shaken up on this side of the mountain as they worked their way through Howard's Hole and the other tough sections. Caleb Russell on the gas, not even...
close one.
And look at that, Thad Duvall, the 989 Husqvarna, chasing him down, saying, buddy, you're not getting away from me. Here comes the 212 of Ricky Russell, looking like he's calm. He doesn't looking like he's panicking by any means, but he's muddy, he's missing his goggles, and it would look or appear to be at least that Ricky Russell is, there we see Caleb is in the pits. Thad is out of the pits now, and Ricky's out of the pits. Wheel to, you say it better than me, like Buren does.
Wheel to wheel.
Well, this technically would be wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel. You got 3 of them there, wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel, and they're all touching as they left right around that Rocky Mountain ATV MC banner, and they're taking off. And now they've got the gnarly side of the mountain behind them, and they're going to do some racing over on that other side because it's definitely a lot. I don't want to say less difficult. It's a great racetrack over on that side of the mountain. It just doesn't have the craziness that the east side of the mountain does. There's Josh Toth, our XC2 Pro Lights leader, 4th place in that XC2 class. He should be working his way through the finish just about any second. We saw him coming up the ski slope, and as he...
Is it going to be enough to get him in the top 3?
Well, he started on row number 1.
Oh, that's right.
Those guys all started on row 1.
He's really at kind of a disadvantage, if you'd be told, at least from that perspective. When you look at it like that, if he was running, trying to run on adjusted time. Big change, as we said, Ricky Russell has dropped to 3rd. Caleb Russell moved into the number 1 spot with the ball up to 2nd. As Johnny Gallagher pointed out, goggles off of Ricky Russell. That could indicate some issues, obviously out of tear-offs and things of that nature.
Here is Trevor Bollinger, the number 5 JCR Honda rider. Looks like there was another rider that came through on a KTM that I'll be honest with you, I did not recognize. I don't know if that could have been Benjamin Kelly. The rider was going very fast.
It was, I think it was a senior A40 plus rider, Bob Bergman, if you want to know.
All right, well, there we go.
Well, good for Bob.
He just checked in. There was a 250A rider just ahead of him, Josh Farrell, as well, out of New Wilmington, Pennsylvania. Could have been either one of those guys. Both of those guys rated KTMs, but Bollinger in. Patrick Tobin is now in from the senior A40 plus class also. But as far as Bollinger goes and the correction on time, we have him now in the number 5 position, which is pretty kosher to where he was a lap ago there. So Bollinger out of Morganton, North Carolina, 1 minute and 45 seconds off pace of those front 4 right now, it looks like. And Jordan Ashburn, we expect to see checking in the number 6 place. Ashburn riding on that beta. Congratulations to Rodney Smith, who became the new team manager there. He was a brand ambassador. They picked him up about a year or so ago, and he became brand ambassador for beta. And just a week or so ago, they announced that he has been moved in position of team manager. And I was talking with him today, and he was telling me that Jordan is actually riding a 300 today here at Snowshoe to try and see how he likes that here in these hard to manipulate rocks and technical sections. The bike's a little bit lighter, but yet still got a lot of that good power and stuff, so they're checking that out. And rumor has it that 300 that he's on is one of the best bikes out in the off-road market right now. And coming from 5-time GNCC Rodney Smith, I think that carries a lot of weight, the truth be told. But Bollinger checks in 5th. Benjamin Kelly in the number 6 spot. He is your XC2 250 Pro 2nd place ride. There's 1 minute and 46 seconds that separate he and his fellow New Englander brother there with, again, only 1 position, but 1 minute and 46 seconds. That's quite a bit of time for Benjamin Kelly to make up. But we're still early in this race as we look at this. I think we could say about an hour and 20 minutes, working on an hour and 30 minutes whole into this race as far as elapsed time is concerned. We got Jordan Ashburn back in the number 7 spot now. That's overall with Grant Baylor 8th, the 314 out of Belton, South Carolina. Looks like Jesse Grom is checked in aboard the number 15. He is your 3rd place in the class with 9th place overall. Stu Baylor having some struggles, it looks like, as he is 10th place overall, but hey, don't count him out yet either. Craig DeLong, another one of those riders you don't want to count out. We expect to see him checking in if he has not yet in that XC2. There's Lane Michael. Michael's gotten back around him. The 523 now checks in a 12th place overall position, which I believe puts him in, like, what is that, 5th place, I think, in XC2 250 class racing now.
It's good stuff. And I tell you what, earlier we had, I think we had 4 XC2 riders in the top 10. Looks like it's down to, what, 3 now. But still just an impressive, just echoes the throwback to the Blackwater 100 here. Anybody can go out there and make something happen.
Most certainly they can, and right now they are doing the best that they can to make something happen. And this part of the race right here, you know, can be a very critical part of the race. You've got you're working on 4 laps. You're working on basically the halfway point of the race, I think, at this particular point. You know, you're getting close to the hour-and-a-half mark, and things are starting to really take its toll and so forth. And you know, it's a lot of work on, and a lot of I think mental toughness is as much as it is physical toughness, especially from about this point on. And I think that's where maybe some of these guys will start to wane a little bit, because the effects of the actual racing in these conditions at the levels they're trying to compete at to maybe make up for that adjusted time when we see them in the top 10s and top 5s like that. You know, maybe it wears on them a little quicker because, you know, they don't see what's going on. They're hearing what's going on, and they're having to push frantically to try to stay in that position sometimes. And that might be why we see some of these guys that are initially in the early stages out front and then start to fade back as the race wears on. That and just, you know, the consistency that these top-tier riders seem to possess when it comes to these types of technical races like that. It takes consistent riding, lap after lap, mile after mile, wheel turn after wheel turn. I mean, from section to section, you got to be on your game. Any little mistakes can turn into something monumental. I mean, it doesn't take much, especially at Snowshoe, to turn something very small into something very big. Right now, as we say, we are about 20 minutes out or so. I'm going to say probably 23 minutes out from the completion of lap number 4. We're on the west side of the mountain this time, so we're working on the technical second lap complete. Second lap complete. It would be 21.4 miles again that these guys are racing. So for that complete lap. But the way it scores, we've got 2 scoring systems. They are side by side. It's 2 finish lines basically, so we can utilize either or both. They check in from one side of the mountain and go to the other side of the mountain, and then go to when they come back through, they go through the opposite side. So you know, we get a chance basically to get a halfway point update on these guys, and it's kind of like what we'd like to see at some of the checkpoints. It'd be nice to be able to know how things are going out of the checkpoints, but this is a good start to the halfway point of those laps out there for those guys. And right now, let's, as we are, I mean, I was talking and checking in with some of these other classes. I like to do that on days like today because there are so many changes. You know, riders do so much different from one portion of the race to the other, one side of the mountain to the other. It changes the face of the race. And after 2 laps of racing, as we start looking at some of our senior A class riders, these are the guys 40 plus older. We've got, listen to this, Jeffrey Odell out of Bennington, Vermont, another New Englander doing well here today, the 755, but also a West Virginia native, Patrick Davis out of Martinsburg, is running in the number 2 spot. Also out of New England, out of Manchester, New Hampshire, Sean Levesque, the 351, running in a 3rd place position. Then it's old shotgun Sean Remington out of New Salem, Pennsylvania, running the number 4 spot, the 51. Rob Brown, Moto Fro out of Drury, Massachusetts, the 98 machine is 5th. James Bennett out of Dunbar, West Virginia, the 369 and 6th. 7th is Patrick Tobin, the 126 from Fort Mill, South Carolina. I think he was running up front of the pack on this one in at the completion of the first side of the mountain, but that's dropped back to 7th now. Albert DeMott out of Dunbar, Pennsylvania is 8th. 9th spot is in the senior A class is Jeff Staples, and Christian Broombaugh, 103 out of Williamsburg, PA, after time adjustments so far here on lap 2 complete is rounding out your top 10. We go to the open B class now. Adam Hollenkamp, the 161 from Versailles, Kentucky. He's not leading physically. He's actually a row or 2 back from Corey Jordan, who's leading. Jordan out of Gainesboro, Tennessee, on a Husqvarna after time adjustments on the 741, scores in at 2nd place in the open B class, with Hollenkamp right now with a looks like a 17-second lead maybe over Corey Jordan when we do time adjustments. Richard Taylor out of Dauphin, PA, is running in the number 3 spot aboard the 433. New to Cumberland, West Virginia's Cody Stevens. The 407 is 4th. Maidensville, West Virginia's Aaron Lehman, is running in the number 5 spot aboard the 875. 227, Jacob Pritt from Montrose, West Virginia. 6'7", 370, Gus Dial from Frostburg, Maryland. West Virginia, home to Matt Bruffy, the 720 in 8th place. 9th place is Jacob Barnes to the number 502 from Lancaster, Ohio. And Fairmont, West Virginia, home to James Harsberger, the 69, who rounds out your top 10 after 2 laps complete in that open B class. 250 B class with 2 laps complete. Working on the third side, the other side of the mountain for them is Tyler Martin. That's actually 1 full loop complete, 21 miles that we're talking about. Tyler Martin leading out of Parker, Pennsylvania, about 4 minutes and 6 seconds over Dakota DeVore, the 526 from Yerkesville, Ohio. Noah Marks at I-95 from Frostburg, Maryland. Another minute 46 seconds back on the number 3 spot. In the 4th place position, the 411 Mike DeLose out of Gillette, PA. Brady Stefanchek out of Linton, Indiana is running 5th. Chase Sweda, the 223 out of Flowery Branch, Georgia, is 6th. Kyle Prismont, 136 of Westchester, Ohio, 7th. Cody Cleese out of Frostburg, Maryland. The 222 is 8th. 9409 Grant Kerfman out of Mount Morris, PA, in 10th. The 466 of Denver Martin III from Inwood, West Virginia. That's 250B here in the early part of this. Chase Colville is leading out of West Sunbury, PA. I like taking a look at where these riders are from in this particular part, just to see how maybe if it's West Virginia guys, PA guys, New England guys, or whatever, that seem to fare better in these kind of conditions. But Chase Colville leading the 200B class. 577 Seth Bennington from Worthington, PA is running 2nd. 3rd spot, 864 Brandon Keegan out of Cole Center, PA. 4th place, 347 Cole Johnson out of Vail, North Carolina. 5th place, 406 Trail Henderson from Pacelot, South Carolina. Noah Stewart out of Martins Ferry, Ohio, the 597. Rounds out the 6 that have checked in so far in the 200B class. 4-stroke B lights. We got Sean Cochran out of Cross Lanes, West Virginia, nearly a 3-minute lead over Bolton B. Roth, the 258 from Blacktown, North Carolina. Beverly, West Virginia, home to Eric Ross, the 445. And 3rd, 4th is Hunter Hart, the 430 from Newfield, New York, as he races the XC2 class in ATV racing. Had a rough day yesterday, only completed half of a lap or one side of the mountain. He's tough break there for him, but he's back out here again today. He was having mechanical issues, I guess. Gatlin Welbert out of Boonville, North Carolina. Good to see Gatlin back at us, the old Gatlin gun. 558, 6th place is Adam Parker. By the way, Gatlin is the brother-in-law to Caleb Russell. 371, Adam Parker out of New Kensington, Pennsylvania. Then in 7th place is Joe Spivey from Collinsville, North Carolina, the 333. 8th place, the 417, Evan Young from Brewster Mills, West Virginia. 9th place, number 360, Jacob Herman from Jonesboro, Tennessee, and Austin Evans out of St. Albans, West Virginia. The 711 rounds out the top 10 in the 4-stroke B lights class. Now the vet B class, only the top 4 checked in with both sides of the mountain completed at least once. We're talking about Wayne Skidmore, the 733 from Mount Savage, Maryland. Mountainous terrain there where he's from. Jordan Overfield, the 609 from Morgantown, West Virginia, runs 2nd, only a minute 12 back. They got about 7.5 minutes over McDonald, PA's Jason Stickley, the 920, in 3rd. Steve Lambrino and Wes Morrison, 4th and 5th. We'll try to come back and check in with more of those guys. Senior B, William Lackey, checking in with 2 laps. He had a 7-minute, 24-second lead at the end of the first lap over the 107 of Jeffrey Flynn on Old Fields, West Virginia. That was on one side of the mountain. Lackey's got both sides of the mountains in. We'll check in with the Senior B shortly as well. 16 minutes or so due in, maybe a little less for the 250 class, the XC2 250 Pro class, where Toth is leading. Again, he is top 5 overall, 4th place if I'm not mistaken. Jason Thomas leading the XC3, Fmf Xc3 class out of Wales. And he had a near 6-minute lead over Hunter North. David Quillen, DQ, the 567, was running in 3rd. 4th place was Mark Carrasco, 5th to Devin Welch. Open A bike. Wow, there's only one of these guys that have checked in with 3 laps. And we've already had B-class riders that have had.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it is. Open A, Levi Keller out of Bainbridge, Ohio. Only rider in so far with 3 laps. So he has worked up the east side twice, it looks like. He had a 4-minute lead at the end of the west side ride over Brandon Higgins, the 897 of the Colton, West Virginia. Scotch Plains, New Jersey's homes to Zach Tussle, the 47 machine, who was 17 seconds behind him. And out of Calgary, Canada, in Ontario, out of Paul Petron, the 703 was only 1.5 seconds behind Tussle, so we had a good battle going on there. Whether it be time adjusted or physical, regardless, it's a tight race. 67 Connor Smith from Denver, North Carolina was 5th. 203 Tyler Brunton out of Troutman, North Carolina. 6th Evan Earl, 7th out of Blacksburg, South Carolina. 39 Ben Parsons is 8th out of Orlando, Florida. Brady Myers, the 27 out of Walker, West Virginia, is 9th. Bryce Coster out of Sorrento, Florida, 7-12 rounds out top 10 Open A bike class riders. 258 class, Jonathan Johnson out of Landrum, South Carolina, due in anytime now, as he had the lead over Alex Teagard. And this 258 class, Mikey, you can help elaborate on this, have often been the subject of the top overall a lot here this season in 2017.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You see them up there. I mean, they're just doing their thing. Alex Teagarden, big name out there. You got a couple good shout-outs here earlier today on the podium. And then Cody Barnes, a regular as well. And, of course, J.T. Johnson, big name up there as well out of the 250A class.
Big shout-out to all of our friends from the GNCC as they are here in-house with us today. And, of course, welcoming Hiro Yamamoto and all those great folks. Glad to have them here with us. The JNCC, a great partner in Japan as a part of cross-country racing, and glad to have them here at Snowshoe. Hope you guys are having a good time. Great, great. And you guys coming back this year, any, you think? You be back for Ironman? All right. Looking forward to that, man. You guys, that's always a fun one, is it not? Love it. And we'll be back over to Japan. We'll be sending a one rider over later this season. I think it's around October, November, sometime around there, and we get a chance to go and, man, talk about. It's usually the weekend after Ironman, I think, is the way it usually falls in the schedule. But, man, you talk about the JNCC. They roll out the red carpet. Chelsea Taylor, our media girl, and not only her, but all the media we've ever sent in the past, and every rider we've ever sent. Best trip they have ever taken.
All right.
I mean, the most hospitable. They roll out the red carpet, to say the least. So we thank the folks from Japan in being here with us and being a part of the cross-country racing world. Right now, though, what are we doing here in the 258 class? Have these guys checked in yet?
Still waiting.
Jonathan Johnson still isn't.
Where you at, Jonathan Johnson?
He's almost 10 minutes off pace right now, which that kind of makes sense. I mean, one side's a little bit shorter than the other. And then, of course, we've got, you know, I would think at least these guys would be on pace that what they were on the first lap. So, and I don't think, well, there it is. Finally, Alex Teagarden checks in. So Teagarden comes through there. He was the last guy that just checked in. If you were watching the scoring monitors right there, Teagarden checked in. He has now we see Connor Keegan, that last rider for four-stroke A lights. We see, though, he has had a 32:36 lap time on that east side of the mountain, so that warrants that. But still no sign of Jonathan Johnson or anyone else in this 258 class just yet. Now, where does that put Alex Teagarden in the overall as we start to look toward maybe the top amateurs right now? And, you know, through the top 20 right now, we have absolutely no one outside of an XC1, 2, or 3 class that are with us. It's as far back as 25th place overall before we see our first non-XC1, 2, or 3 class rider. It is Bainbridge, Ohio's Levi Keller, the 185 Open A class leader. He is 25th overall. Then a little further back, the 4-stroke A lights class leader, Josh Lee, the 210 from Statesboro, Georgia. He is, again, like we said, 28th overall. He's running second in the top amateur bid right now, I guess you could say. And then Waynesburg, PA's Alex Teagarden is third in the hunt for the overall top amateur after some time adjustments. That could change. Teagarden always seems to be one of those riders that excels as the race goes on. And it seems to me that he excels more in the tougher conditions. We'll see whether or not that holds true today or not, but it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how that does shape up here today. And I think it'll be somewhat different. It'll change at least a couple of times before the checkers finally come out on this one. All right, we should be seeing probably about any time these guys coming into the pro pit area on the west side of the mountain. So we've seen a little bit of pitting being done on the west side of the mountain over by the finish line due to mileage and stuff. I'm sure there was a few other things. So it'd be questionable to know who will actually be stopping for a full pit stop here this time around when they come through. And there goes Caleb Russell, and he is not stopping.
Getting the water and rolling.
Getting the water and keeping on rolling, man. He is right where he wants to be. And remember what I talked about and trying to demoralize these guys today. He's running like, he's not a scared rabbit, but he's running like a scared rabbit because he wants to be out there as far as he can, if nothing else, to take that home to John Fenton, which is kind of his home track. He grew up there in southeastern Ohio as that basically his grandfather's farm. So, you know, that's where the love of dirt bike racing came, I think, for Caleb Russell. But he makes his way through the pro pits. We've seen a few other guys. Thad Duvall was back there. Ricky Russell was back there, and they were still wheel to wheel, as Johnny Gallo likes to hear me say.
Josh Toth taking a pit.
Yeah, Toth in right now. He was fourth physically and on time adjustment on the racetrack there a little bit ago. Remember, he did start in the first row. Calm, cool, and collected. There's no sense of urgency in that pit stop. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, it is. He's getting a, fresh set of goggles, drink of water, splash of fuel, right back out there. I think, you know what? I mean, if I'm Josh Toth and I'm starting on the front row with those guys, I'm thinking to myself, here's my opportunity. I'm going toe-to-toe with these guys on the time, so let me see what I can go out here and do. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, he just kind of calm and cool out there. Maybe he knows something we don't.
Well, I'll tell you what he knows. He's got about a 2-minute lead over second place in his class, and ultimately that's why Josh Toth is here. He's racing 250 Xc3 class, and there went Caleb, I believe, into that wood section off that road. But, you know, that's his job. It's to win the 250 class, the Xc2 class. It's not. Now, icing on the cake would be the other. There is the number 5, Trevor Bollinger. He's in at the JCR pits, dumping that water down his back. Obviously, even though it's a little cooler up here on the mountain, still exerting a lot of energy, and these guys are creating a lot of heat and body heat out there. So with Bollinger in now, with what is 3 laps complete, Bollinger is 5th place overall. Benjamin Kelly is your 6th place overall rider. Kelly is 2nd in the Xc2 class. Jordan Ashburn is 7th overall. Grant Baylor. So these guys should be checking in through the pits here in just a few moments. Good chance for them to cool off, get a drink of water, rest a little bit coming down this roadway stretch, as we have to use this to get from one tough section to the other tough section, as Johnny Gallagher was saying there a few moments ago. And I love Johnny, and I know his frustration, but I also know had he done well yesterday, he still said it was tough, but he'd probably been a little more favored for him. But there you go. There in the beta pits is Jordan Ashburn getting that gas. Looks like he got him some fresh goggles, cold drink of water. Maybe looks like he might have some extra go-go juice in there as well. He's off and rolling. Jordan Ashburn, if we look back at previous year results, last year he got 3rd place. Actually, 2015 he got 3rd place. 2014 he got 2nd place. So that shows you that the kid knows how to ride. He knows how to perform in these technical situations. So don't count him out just yet. I honestly, I think that 3rd hour is the true tell of the tape out here, if you want to know my opinion of it, Mikey, because Grant Baylor off the bike
in the pit, hopped off.
Yeah, it wasn't like he got crashed or anything, but he did jump off of his bike. And let's see.
Ooh, we're smoking. I'll run down there.
Yeah, run on down there. Let's see if we can get a word of what exactly happened. But I'm going to say 514 Baylor, he is in the KR4 pits. Yes. And so look at that. 314, yes. 514 is his brother, Stu Baylor. But, man, that's a heartbreaker for that kid right there. He has not seemed to be able to get in. It don't even look like they're working on anything about the steam that's coming off that bike, or was they? They were working on the rear tire. Ricky Russell, is he back out front? He most certainly is. Ricky Russell, I wondered, you know, I didn't want to jump on Johnny's toes there whenever they came out of that little pit stop at the finish line, but I thought that maybe Ricky had jumped back out front, and that may be the case. But here is something I think maybe even more interesting than the fact that Ricky Russell is out front. We have a 29.8-second, call a 30-second gap between Ricky Russell and Caleb Russell right now. That, my friends, is something that is kind of eye-popping if you want to know the truth. A 23-minute, 30-second lap time on the west side of the mountain that time around for Ricky Russell. A 24:11 for Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall, a 24:20. He was 12 seconds behind Caleb Russell. And still no sign of Josh Toth, who was 28, almost 29 seconds behind Thad Duvall. Toth was in the number 4 spot. As we pointed out, he did not seem to have a sense of urgency, and he checks in the 4th place position, 23:46. Whoa. Man, Toth made up some time out there. Let's look at overall adjusted time, or elapsed time, I guess we should say. So a 30-second lead, we're calling it, for Ricky Russell over Caleb Russell. Another 12 seconds back to Thad Duvall. And add 40 seconds onto that is all you see back to Josh Toth. He was a little further back than that a few moments ago. So, wow, he's done something really grand by finding himself a good line. But, wow, interesting. Ricky Russell, 23 minute lap times. Caleb and Thad both in the 24-plus lap times. And Josh Toth, something must have grabbed and snagged both the number 1 and 989 out there as they tried to get around that west side of the mountain. There's Ryan Sipes in the pits right now. Here comes Lane Michael into the pits, the 523 machine. There's a lot of activity going on down there right now. Lane Michael actually going to peel the Camelback. They were trying to get that Camelback off or readjusted or whatever, but whatever the case may be, they got the bike ready to go before that was taken care of. So he says, gots to go right now. So we'll be seeing him check in here in just a few moments in the finish line region, along with a few others. Trevor Bollinger, the number 5, is checked in 5th place, 1 minute and 39 seconds down. And we wait now for the, shouldn't be much longer. We'll see, I think Benjamin Kelly checking in. Maybe Jordan Ashburn physically first before him, and then Benjamin Kelly, and he'll get the position on adjusted time if he still is holding that momentum. Oh, a no-hander going down the street. Oh, look at that. He's actually fixing his goggles there. I've never seen that happen, but hey, you don't often have the opportunity of a paved road at a GNCC to be able to reach back and do something like that. So right now, as we roll through this one, we are 4 laps. It would be 2 laps on each side of the mountain, so 2 complete loops as we roll into our 3rd loop here at the Snowshoe Mountain Resort. We are waiting on more riders to check in as we watch for our lead riders coming out of the pit areas and heading out of the finish areas and heading over here to this roadway section that we're looking at right now. Still a bit of a gap as we have yet to see there finally coming in, Benjamin Kelly. We expected him in. He is now 2:49 in the number 2 spot of the XC2 250 class. So 24:49 lap time. He lost about 45 seconds on that particular lap over Josh Toth, but he maintained 7th overall, and 2nd in class as Stu Baylor's now checked in. Baylor 52 seconds off the pace of, I believe it would be Benjamin Kelly now, as he turned to 24:53, lost 4 seconds on that lap. Still no sign, obviously, of Grant Baylor as they were doing the work to his bike over in the pits. I got Mikey Waynes over there trying to get his thumb on the pulse of what's taking place in the BP Fuels Pro row over there. Well, there's something that we probably didn't anticipate and expect to see is that dust, but when you take into consideration the sun that we have seen and the wind that is blowing, drying the top of the mountain out here, it can make some sense. Now, obviously, the conditions aren't what we would warrant as dusty conditions, but we see a little bit of dust, and that's good to see after as wet as things have been. Mikey Wayne, down there.
Yeah. I can barely hear you getting as the bikes go by, but word on the street, or word in the pit rather, Grant Baylor, man, just overheated. They got him cooled down the best they can and got him back out there on the track.
All righty, sounds good, and that's a heartbreaker for him, but nonetheless, he is back at it, and I think that's going to be one of the more important things there for Grant Baylor, and he'll be checking in. A little bit of time down, but whenever you look at the big picture, it's better to be a little down than not at all. So he drops back to 10th overall as Jesse Grom moves into the 9th place position from the XC2 250 class. Grant Baylor is now 10th as he is checked in for his second full loop complete, lap 4 if you're watching scoring, timing and scoring. Russell Bobbitt is now in 11th place, the visiting multi-time champion from the National Enduros, and of course has made GNCC a big part of his lifestyle, obviously, as we've seen him in every round so far here in 2017. Lane Michael, we saw, should be checking in. If not, there is, nope, not yet. There's Chris Bach, he's in. Chris Bach is running 12th overall for the 984 right now. We see an open A rider. Spencer White is checked in, but we're still, there's Ryan Sipes in now. Where does that put Sipes? Sipes up to 13th out of Akron, Kentucky, one of the ISDE members that is going to be heading to try and help defend the U.S. championship from last year and keep that trophy in the great U.S. of A. Ryan getting back up to his full potential here in the off-road, as we have seen some great potential still exist in him in motocross side of things too, as the last few weeks has been spent on the road, traveling, having fun at the suggestion of Barry Hawk to go out and just have fun. Well, folks, right now, Ricky Russell leads Caleb Russell by 30 seconds. That's right, and he just made the pass on him on that side of the mountain, that west side of the mountain. Can Caleb Russell, in the more technical side of the track, gap that 30 seconds back and regain the lead, or will Ricky Russell take off? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this.
Are you looking for a dirt bike piston that can increase power and decrease blow-by? Then check out Wiseco's all-new Racer Elite piston line. Racer Elite has been used exclusively by the pros, including RCH, Yoshimura, Suzuki Factory Racing, and are now accessible to the public. Available for popular 250 and 450cc dirt bikes, the Racer Elite series is the first off-the-shelf asymmetrical power sports piston ever made. Its fully machined billet aluminum construction features an exclusive custom lap top ring. Step up with dyno-proven power gains with Wiseco's Racer Elite piston line.
You smell it, you feel it, you can taste it in the air. Speed, man. Full wide open. Blast. I didn't really like high school too much. Too booky, too take notes, learn this, and that's it. Yeah, wow, take that full-size motorcycle. The feeling of taking them apart every day, putting them back together. You can't explain it. Everything I learned applies to now. Seeing your motorcycle that you put together right around the track at 180 miles an hour, oh, definitely rewarding. My name's Mike. My school's Wyotech.
Get on the fast track to a career. Turn pro at Wyotech.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from Snowshoe Mountain in beautiful Snowshoe, West Virginia for the 8th round of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the Amsoil GNCC Series presented by Maxxis. And this is the Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC in our 11th running of it, a 21.4-mile race course, and some say many technical aspects similar to a lot of the tough situations and circumstances they found themselves in Blackwater so many years ago. You either love it or you hate it. Well, there's no hardly in between in this one, my friends. Snowshoe certainly holds a mystique and lure to it that keeps you coming back for more. Ricky Russell still leading Caleb Russell at last check, with Thad Duvall in 3rd, Josh Toth in 4th, Trevor Bollinger rounding out the top 5, Jordan Ashburn in 6th, Ben Kelly 7th, Stu Baylor in 8th, 9th place Jesse Grom and Grant Baylor rounding out the top 10. We had 3 of the XC2 50 Pro riders in there, the XC2 250 Pro class. It was Josh Toth, he's 4th overall leading. Then Benjamin Kelly, 2nd in class, is 7th overall. And Jesse Grom, 9th overall, 3rd in the XC2 250 class. So the podium in that class doing pretty good as Johnny Gallagher rejoins us. Johnny, I know that you went out and took care of a couple things, checked on a few things. What do you note worthy here of this race as we are about halfway through, or maybe a little more at this point?
Well, you know, one thing that I'm noticing, and like you were talking about, is those XC2 guys. And if we think back, I don't know if it's something we've really touched on so far today, but let's go way back here, Rodney, to the good old days of Thad Duvall in that XC2 class, right, almost winning this race on corrected time. I'm sorry, not on corrected time. He was actually on row 1, aside, or maybe he was on row 2.
It was, yeah, he was corrected time, because I remember it came up and we had to wait. I mean, it took like 5-6 minutes. They went back and they made sure that everything was right. But in the end, it was 3.5 seconds in the end. If you go back and I looked at those coming into this, there was a 3.5-second gap that separated he and David Knight at that finish.
And David Knight at the time, was virtually untouchable, not just at this facility, but in general in GNCC racing. He was just winning everything he touched. Came here and nobody expected a challenge for him in these conditions, let alone to come from some kid in the XC2 class.
Right.
I mean, not that Thad obviously wasn't a star. He was winning that class, winning championships at the time in that XC2 Pro Lights class. But all of a sudden, it was like, man, this kid is the real deal. So we know Thad is lethal in these conditions as he continues to circulate in that third-place spot. However, it's actually the rider behind him, Josh Toth, who's kind of taken in every way possible his place in that kind of scenario on that NFEB Pro Yamaha team, on that Yamaha 250F, and working towards trying to get himself on that overall podium.
And he's gotten close and getting closer all the time. And, he's one of those riders that could potentially win one of these races. If not today, there's other opportunities and chances he'll have in the future, I think.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if he'll be able to get up on that podium or win today. It'd be great. We'd love to see it. But I'll tell you what, these guys better watch out for Josh Toth at New York. Because that kid last year, on a bike he wasn't familiar with, on a new team, and, virtually no time whatsoever, he did great.
Let's turn our attention to the monitor, Johnny, as if you folks are watching at home, we are at Howard's Hole. This is some footage that we're going to be seeing. This is New Trail leading to Howard's Hole. In the early part of the race, on lap 1, we saw that actually Stu Baylor was leading physically there early on, and this is some nice, beautiful terrain that they're going through right there. This is what our friends from NBC Sports Network has brought in for us to see, and look at that, man. I mean, that's beautiful, pristine territory that they get to ride through right there.
I guarantee what you're watching right now is not looking like this now. After 2 laps through here, but there we see Russell Bobbitt on the factory Fmf KTM. There's Chris Bach on the RPM KTM, his teammate Mike Witkowski, Jesse Grom there, the number 15. There we see Vance Francis, both handguards missing already. Maybe he started without those. Ben Kelly was a little further back, and there is our buddy Jason Thomas, the number 125 on the 125. A little bit further down the trail, they worked their way to this. And this is Howard's Hole, folks. No, this is not what the world looks like after a nuclear meltdown. This is Howard's Hole. And
there's our leader, I believe.
There is Ricky Russell, and this is bringing him right up to the VP Fuels Pro Row, I believe. And there is Caleb Russell now in second, and he is working his way through. And there is Thad Duvall.
Wow, that's tightened back up. There was 30 seconds.
But look at that. Look at right behind Thad Duvall.
Oh, there he is. Yes.
And depending on how close he is.
Time adjustment does.
Oh, that's right. He was on the front row. Never mind.
I know everybody gets.
I keep doing the same thing.
But he is top 5 overall points like that.
It's a good thing that we have Rodney here because we'd be trying to hand this kid the overall trophy when he's running fourth. But give it to the kid. Give it to the kid. So yeah, this is some footage that we're seeing here. Actually, I believe we're kind of cutting back and forth. So this may not be the most recent time that we have seen him, but at one point he was on the rear wheel of Thad Duvall, and there he is again. And oh, this is from lap 1, actually, what we're watching right now. So that is Toth, and he is still pushing hard, but he's just outside of that podium position, but we could still see him up there. Here is Caleb Russell leading the way, and you can see just how gnarly some of this stuff is. Thad Duvall chasing him, and man, really gives you a perspective for what these guys are going through out there. What we see up on top here is just, not even a drop in the bucket.
Well, actually, that footage that we saw of Ricky Russell out front was the footage from down there. I was thinking we would switch back and forth. I don't think we did. I think that just happened to be playing to the right role. But we are back in that same scenario where Ricky Russell's out front, Caleb Russell in second, Thad Duvall in third.
And Josh Toth in fourth.
And Josh Toth in fourth. They came from the west side of the mountain. Now, I got to ask you, what is, because you said the west side seems to be would likely be the easier and time for people to make up over there, but it actually stretched them out, man. I mean, we see 30 seconds there between first and second.
I don't know. I mean, I looked at the track map, and I kind of know what's over there. There is a really, really gnarly rock garden that is on a grade. We've gone down it, we've gone up it, we've gone back down it, we've gone up it, and this year they are coming up it, or should be, based on looking at the track map, I believe. But that isn't anything that would separate riders of this caliber by 30 seconds or more. So I don't know if perhaps it was, misfortune or lappers, or, somebody just really turned up the pace.
Well, I mean, you think about it. I mean, it was 3 bikes. It was Russell, and Duvall nose to tail whenever they were coming through the finish line. They did that little quick pit stop there, and they took off there. So, wow, that's I don't know. I didn't know if maybe you knew something that was.
No, I mean, again,
but I think it's a little longer today than it was yesterday. But you, like you said, you've looked at the track map.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the track map and I kind of know what I was looking at. But you know, when I went out yesterday, I thought I knew the track I was heading out on. And when we got out there, I think there was a points on the first lap where literally, you know, the top 5, or tops. I think I was in 6th, or I think I was in 5th. The top 5, we kind of just stopped and looked at each other like, are we sure we're supposed to be here? it was that bad. So maybe there's some stuff over on that side of the mountain that I'm not anticipating, having been in the course, that is really separating these guys. But nonetheless, it's making for exciting racing.
Yeah, I think you guys ran 5 miles on the other side, on the west side yesterday, and I think they're running something like 11 or 12 on that side today. So that lengthened the course out quite a bit, I believe. So yeah, I mean, who knows, man? I know that we've had some gnarly stuff over there in the
Look
past.
at these
before.
views.
That's beautiful right there.
Yeah, if you're not up here, you're missing out, folks. You, regardless of what you're doing this weekend, you're in the wrong spot if you are not here at 4848, you know, 4,848 feet, right up on top of Snowshoe Mountain. Because
wow, that view makes me feel alive. It really does. It makes, and it does. I mean, almost heaven. It makes you feel so close to it. I mean, you look out over it and you think, that's what heaven's got to look like, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough weekend on the mountain for me in every imaginable way, but nonetheless, you look at a view like that, and already looking forward to coming back here next year.
Oh, I love it.
I want to get off it today. As soon as this is over, I'm out of here. I got to go fix myself and machines and egos and scenarios and get back in the hunt for where things I believe should be or want them to be. But nonetheless, you know, it's an awesome facility, great views. You know, we had an opportunity Thursday to actually really kind of become one with the mountain and pedal up from the bottom on road bikes. Awesome opportunity. Did it in 2013 and did it again this year. And kind of remembrance of our good buddy Dale Cook, Cookie. One tough cookie as he was, he would have appreciated that. So all this stuff you're seeing here, we started at the bottom and not there. We did it on road bikes. We did it on the road, but still, nonetheless, it was a great experience, and you know, just an awesome facility. Really appreciate the people at Snowshoe here that opened up this facility to us, and obviously Racer Productions and GNCC for putting it all together. It's you can tell by the crowds and just the whole kind of almost the festival atmosphere that becomes this weekend. It really is a unique event.
It most certainly is, and 2 hours into this race now, and we are 1 hour away or so from a checker flag. And you know, you're talking about the beauty of this place. We actually had a chance to go out and capture some of that. Our RacerTV crew did earlier in the weekend on Friday, and this is some of the beauty that they come up with. And that, my friends, is the beauty, some of the beauty that you can capture up here at Snowshoe. And again, it only scratched the surface, I think, of what is really here and the beauty, the true beauty it beholds.
Absolutely, you know, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You know, this up on top of this mountain, it's you really couldn't imagine a more beautiful place, picturesque. I mean, it just kind of lends itself to just kind of pulling out a lawn chair, having a seat, looking out over, and saying, "Man, this really is what life's all about."
I took time during the start yesterday and the start when we had the delay on the start, and I went around behind the Max's truck, and it was real quiet on that side. There was nobody around. It was away from all the crowd. And on the back side of the Max's truck, as you looked out from over on the start side of the mountain, looking out over that view was, I mean, it just captivated me, and I mean, I felt so drawn into it. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff, and I love it. I love being in GNCC. We get the opportunity to go to a lot of pretty places. I love Steel Creek. I love here, and I love Camp Coker. All right, we need the pit crew of Tristan Wilburn to it is Wilburn. Okay, they're telling me Tristan Wilburn to
Rider registration.
Rider registration. Okay, want to make sure it wasn't the medic station. Rider registration. All right, so right now, guys, we are, okay, east side of the mountain, I believe, is what we would be on. This is a little longer mountain, longer side of the mountain.
Rodney,
so
look at this, tucked down for maximum speed on the highway. They were laying down on the handlebars.
Playing that Isle of Man imitation right there.
Absolutely. Wow, that's pretty much what that is. I mean, that's a really high speed section there. But, you know, when we're looking at, you were just talking about which side of the mountain they were on. You know, when you're on top, you get to see the views of both sides. But one thing that feature did show us that just wanted to point out quickly, you know, as you're watching on screen here, nothing but sunshine. If you're here in person and you're listening, you know, you can just look and feel like you can just reach up and grab a hold of one of those nice white fluffy clouds. But one of the crazy things about the top of this mountain is how quickly the weather can change up here. But really, you know, Mother Nature really has smiled down on us today and actually yesterday as well. A little bit chilly up here this morning, but nonetheless, it's really been clear skies and sun and great weather for racing. And if you were here on Friday, it was not all that. It was, and actually Thursday night as well. It was, you know, man, when the storms roll in here, when you look at the radar, it just doesn't do it justice. Imagine yourself inside what you're picturing on the radar, and that's the way things are up here at this elevation.
Well, I'll tell you, Friday was a poor time to realize that I did not get my rain suit water repellent enough on it because I got soaked, man. It happened. I was like, oh, man, I washed, I cleaned it, I put all, but I didn't put enough on it, man. I mean, we had a lot of rain on Friday and Thursday, like you said, leading into it. But you know what? The beauty of this this race, you know, it doesn't hurt it up here, really. It all runs off. If you remember a year ago, probably some of the biggest floods in the history of the state of West Virginia took place, and, you know, some of the worst flooding that we've ever seen. It really made it difficult to get here. You had to go different routes and stuff to actually make it up the Snowshoe, and we didn't have any issues with a whole lot of mud or anything like that again. And it's funny how quickly it turns around after the rain.
You know, we were talking about that actually yesterday after the race, or maybe it was even Friday after people started walking the track and kind of giving us feedback and all that. We're not, as XC1 riders, can't walk till Saturday morning, but even golfing, you know, it was evident as we were kind of traversing our way around the mountain. It's kind of crazy because last year, like you said, I mean, record flooding for the state of West Virginia, you know, unfortunately devastating to the local community here just at the bottom of the mountain. But up here on top, I mean, it was wet, but by the time race day came around on Saturday and all that rain came on Thursday, you know, it wasn't like it was earlier in the week. I mean, that rain came Thursday and it was still flooded on Friday. People, like you said, alternate routes to get up here, people not being able to make it up here at all on Friday, having to wait until Friday night or Saturday morning. And the track was pretty dry and passable last year. And this year, with much less rain, but just coming less than 24 hours later on Friday, the track yesterday was horrid. I mean, just so muddy. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, I think with the not the elevation, but the grade and the way the water runs off, it almost doesn't matter how much rain you get. It's how much time you get after the rain. So you could get up here, you know, we would not want to see this because it would be devastating to the communities around, but you could get 10 inches, 12 inches of rain up here on top of the mountain, and within a matter of maybe 12 to 24 hours, it would look just like this up here. But further down the mountain, or at the bottom of the mountain, in the low-lying areas, it would, you know, be pure chaos. So it's a unique terrain, it's a unique set of circumstances, and it obviously it creates for some great racing. We're seeing the lead swapped around multiple times in how crazy that everything that we're seeing on screen here is just playing itself into the racing, from the conditions of the course, the conditions of the start. You know, it's all factors here, and it's making for some crazy action.
You know, Johnny, you look at this this course, and there's so many different terrains. You go from dirt, you go from concrete, asphalt, and to rocks and things like that. Do you guys spend? I mean, when you think about it, I mean, what about tires, man? How hard is it on a man's tires when he goes racing here? I mean, because you've got so many different types of terrain to go throughout. Do you use a hard compound? Do you use a soft compound? Do you find that intermediate? How do you find what's what's the best compounds out here?
Well, you know, there's several schools of thought on that, and a lot has to do with what is available to you, you know, and obviously as a top tier rider, a rider like Caleb Russell or, you know, Ricky Russell or any of these guys that we're, you know, kind of talking about in the XC1, XC2 ranks, you know, they have quite a few tires that are available to them to choose from in terms of compound spacing, types of tires, and as well as modifications that can be made to said tires to make them better for certain conditions. But you have to be careful because you need a lot of traction up here for sure. But you also, as you know, you were pointing out, you spend a lot of time on pavement, and you know, a soft compound tire that is made to grip really well, obviously also wears really quickly.
Right.
And the kind of the dirty little secret is the softer the compound, the less how do I say this? The less resistant the knob is to completely separating itself from the carcass. And we've seen riders here at Snowshoe in the past finish races with no knobs on their tires, and quickly you'll see the tire guy come in and, you know, kind of stand around the tire and kind of hide it, I guess, if you will, because they don't want, you know, people to think that their tire's faulty. Well, it's not a matter of a faulty tire. It's a tire that wasn't really intended for these conditions, that these riders are pushing well past the limits of engineering to try and gain an advantage, and in the process, you know, end up with a tire with no knobs on it. So yeah, I mean, we were back and forth on this. On the ATV side, you know, we've got a larger contact batch, so yes, it wears out our tires. I mean, you'll never see tires wear quite like they do here at Snowshoe with the miles of cobblestone access roads that we have, and then obviously the pavement as well. It really gives a unique wear pattern of basically flat, you know, to the tire. But on the bikes, it's entirely different, and I noticed it, you know, years ago when I wasn't as involved on the bike side. I would look at the guys' tires after the race, and like, man, they're missing all these knobs, and there's chunks missing, which normally you don't see quite so often. And I thought, well, it just must be the rocks. And then, you know, as I got closer with Chris Bach and Nate Canny and Caleb and a lot of these guys, you know, you find that either some do, some don't. Some have tried and some haven't as to running different compounds, running special tires for these conditions. But I actually did look on the starting line in terms of, okay, is anybody running, I don't know if you recall, but we saw Grant Baylor a few years ago run a trials tire.
Right.
Which is a full gummy that doesn't even really have knobs per se. They're really small knobs. They're close, spaced very closely together, and the tire is like, it's almost like tar paper. It just sticks to everything, so you can climb anything, and he did quite well with it. But nobody had a trials tire on, at least in the first 3 or 4 rows that I saw. It was all kind of the standard. You know, the Dunlop guys were running the 81 rear, the MX32 or MX3S front. The Maxxis guys were running the SI front, SI rear. I did see a few guys that maybe had an IT on, which is I guess I should explain. Those are the monikers that go along with the tires. The Dunlop 81 is kind of their all-around GNCC tire. You look at Caleb Russell, Russell Bobbitt, the Dunlop guys, Thad Duvall, Josh Strang, they run that rear tire in all conditions, basically, except for sand. They'll run a 32 rear or a full sand tire rear for those conditions. And then on the front, they kind of all run, you know, which is an intermediate soft terrain tire. So for here, you can do some things to gain an advantage, but when you do that, you open yourself up to having a complete meltdown of that product. So everybody seemed this year, everybody kind of went from middle of the road. So if anybody experiences any issues, it's going to be kind of a freak thing. And look at this, Thad Duvall leading the way as they work their way up to scoring, and Ricky Russell in second. Did we miss Caleb Russell, or has he not made his way? That is not Caleb Russell. Folks, I think we'll have to check our live timing and scoring here in just a moment, but I think we may have a new leader. Is it the 989 Factory Rockstar Husqvarna?
Thad Duvall has checked in the number 1 position according to timing and scoring, and there in the number 2 spot is the 212 of Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell out of Duval, Washington on the Fmf Pro Yamaha. Only 8.6 seconds behind now as we wrap up lap number 5, or 2.5 loops, if you will. And wow, what a big change in this one. Again, another change. It went, it just keeps swinging from one way to another, man. It blows me away. But, you know, I have to wonder.
Josh Toth into third.
Exactly. And this is right here. I got to wonder if maybe Caleb might not be having some sort of issue.
There is Caleb Russell right there.
That is keeping him off the pace that he normally runs, because we saw that 30 seconds lost on that opposite side of the mountain. Now we see a lot more time. has been lost on the more technical side of the mountain, as Johnny would call it. And Caleb Russell drops from the first place position back to second, third, and now into a fourth place position. And he checks in 51 seconds behind Josh Toth. He turned a 30-minute and 24-second lap time. Thad Duvall a 29:12, so about 50 seconds faster. So it looks like Caleb Russell must have ran into some sort of an issue out there. We're going to send our Johnny on the spot, or Mikey on the spot there, and head him over to the pro pits and see if he can get a word in with somebody to find out if there's an issue with Caleb, or if it just happens to be the way the cookie crumbles today.
You know, Rodney, it's always fun to speculate. It's good that we're going to get the dirt from Mikey Waynes. He's going to go over there and get the right from the horse's mouth kind of thing, or as close as we can get to the horse. He's probably going to talk to the team manager over there, or whoever he can find under that KTM tent. But speculating is always fun.
Yes.
And, you know, judging by Caleb's body language and judging by the way he was riding, I don't think we're seeing a nagging issue or anything that per se held him back. I think what we're looking at is Caleb Russell got stuck and had some trouble over there because he was riding aggressively. The bike looked good. He looked good. It was simply a matter of you could tell by his you know, body position and his mannerisms, he looked frustrated and angry. And to me, that means that either he made a mistake or got stuck, or you know, picked a bad line, got tangled up with a lapper, whatever it may be. You know, he's dropped from that lead group to now back and forth, and he's got quite a bit of time to even make up.
Didn't they just go through Howard's Hole down there a minute ago?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, what about the West Virginia fans? Maybe they helped out that Duvall down there. They said, all right, boys, get him.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything's possible, you know. And
I don't want to give them any ideas.
Yeah, no. Well, luckily they can't hear us down there. But nonetheless, it is interesting to, you know, when you have those kind of conditions, see how it does shake things up. And again, it comes back to that whole, this is a unique. I mean, but we see riders get stuck and lappers come into play in all GNCCs. This is just kind of amplified to the next level when you get to somewhere like Howard's Hole, or some of the sections that they've actually taken out of. Who do we got here? Oh, that's a lapped rider coming through. The way people are going crazy, I thought maybe we were looking at one of the leaders coming through, but I think that was just his personal cheering section there that he was working on. There we see Big AG with the pit board. We know he's waiting on that number 314, or I'm sorry, 514 of Stu Baylor. 314 would be Grant Baylor. We're waiting on both those guys. I think we may see Trevor Bollinger checking in here. He's worked his way past our camera, and he was hard on the gas. Looked like it was hard to tell if he was battling with someone or he was making a. Oh, look at this! Jordan Ashburn on that factory beta, and Trevor Bollinger on the JCR Honda, wheel to wheel. Trevor Bollinger looks pretty upset about something, throwing his hands in the air. He is trying to figure out where his pit crew's at. Unfortunately, we got a bad camera angle here, but it looks like perhaps both Ashburn and Bollinger. Nope. Ashburn kept going. Bollinger is in the pits. There is Ashburn working his way down the slopes. He's got the hammer down on that beta, and Bollinger got some fresh goggles, maybe a splash of fuel. We can speculate. We like to do that. And he's on his way down the slopes as well now. Looks like those goggles didn't see quite right, and he's making some adjustments on the fly. That just shows you the confidence these guys ride with. Now, here is our second place rider in that XC2 class, and that is Benjamin Kelly on that Trail Jesters KTM. There we see his mom giving him a water bottle there. She says, hey, get yourself hydrated, buddy. You got a podium to go after. And he's looking great. He's in a podium spot. I believe he's still second as they check in. Yes, he is. Second place in that XC2 Pro Lights. And there was a rider behind him. If we look and see that is...
it was Zachary Toth. Is that Josh?
Perhaps it is. I know he does have a brother that's racing in one of the B classes, I believe it is.
Actually, this is a 250A class rider, 207, so that would make sense.
That is him. I'm sorry, I thought it was B, but maybe he rides 250A. So, yeah, he's probably trying to chase. Again, we talked about how those guys are buddies, and he's trying to chase his older brother's buddy, or maybe his buddy as well. So that's somebody you want to get hooked up with on the track, is somebody you ride with at home. You're familiar with how they pick lines, and he's going to try and use that to work himself up in the standings. But right now, Benjamin Kelly holding down that second place and 7th overall from that XC2 Pro Lights class, and doing it quite well. And if we look and see, wow, 4 minutes and 9 seconds back is the gap that he is from Josh Toth.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. And here we see Grant Baylor now working his way in, and that should be our 8th place overall rider. So he's worked his way around Big Brother Stu.
Yep.
And Grant is on the charge trying to get himself up, get some valuable points today, and get a good ride under his belt for that KR4 Husqvarna team. And there is Stu Baylor working his way through now. That would be 9th place overall.
Interesting. We saw Grant Baylor off the bike and power washing and trying to get the thing cooled off because it was overheating a little bit ago. And here he is.
Oh, and here he is in the pits.
Back at it again.
And they're giving him some information. Not sure what's happening. They've got a pit board. It doesn't have writing on it.
Wow, what is going on here right now? They're tough break because he was making up some pretty good ground, it looked like. And look, it's still overheating. He's got an overheating issue, or at least steam coming out of the machine at the moment.
Oh, they were using the pit board to shield when they opened the radiator in case it sprayed the hot steam out. They did not want to get sprayed by that. So they're pouring some more engine ice in there, trying to keep that machine cool, but it obviously is still overheating, and he gave up a spot to
for Evans. Water was coolant, so I think.
he gave up a spot to his big brother there. And was there anybody else that came through in that at the same time?
Let's see. You got Stu Baylor and...
Nope, just Stu. So Stu has now worked his way back around Grant, so that will put Stu back in 8th and Grant back in 9th. We'll see if Grant can run him back down and make the pass. Looks like they're doing everything they can to try and keep that machine running. Obviously, when those radiators get packed full of mud, it's tough to keep those machines cool.
M. Raider, Mason Raider, if you watch social media and see a lot of the videos and stuff out there, M. Raider Films, that was him right there. And he's out watching this one today with his big sun hat on and obviously enjoying the sunshine that the great state of West Virginia has to offer here. Is that
Craig DeLong?
Yeah, that's who I thought that might be.
So that is our 3rd place rider in that.
Sounds like Mikey might be close to a speaker, but it sounds like Mikey also has an update for us coming here pretty soon. So, Mikey, when you're ready, go ahead and let us know.
Well, hey, I do have an update for you. Yeah, that's loud. I'll try to adjust that down. So nothing mechanically wrong with Caleb. I said they came into Howard's Hole. He was running the middle. I believe it was Thad went left, Ricky went right, and that was just a difference maker coming out of Howard's Hole. That's how it ended up. Ricky, running second, Thad out in front.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, just as we had kind of speculated, and you in particular speculating that Howard's Hole had a lot to do with that, and that's exactly what we're faced with there. And so knowing that, we know that there's no mechanical issues, and we know that there's no physical issues. We know that Caleb Russell still stands a chance to make up some ground now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and they do have to go through Howard's Hole at least one more time. I think it probably will only be one more time. But it's it's a tough section, and I saw that play out. We saw that play out yesterday in the XC1 Pro ranks in the ATV side of things. With it was Bryson Neal who was actually in 2nd place with a pretty big gap over 3rd and 4th, which was Kevin Yoho and Chris Borich. When it came down in there to Howard's Hole, Bryson was stuck for quite some time, and I think there was a little miscommunication between he and his pit crew, from what I'd heard, and they had gone up the mountain and thought there was going to be one less lap. And long story short, he was stuck down there without anybody and picked a bad line and buried it. The West Virginia fans jumped right in and tried to get him out. By the time they got him dug out, Borich and Yoho had worked their way past, and they ended up 2-3. And then this morning I was down there, spent the whole race down at Howard's Hole, and in that WXC Pro Women's class, there was some shakeups down there at Howard's Hole as well, with Brooke Cosner and Becca Sheets and Taylor Jones working their way through, and they would trade the lead in there. And actually, the final lap, Taylor and Becca came in pretty much wheel to wheel, and it was just not a good trip through for Becca, and she ended up losing by I think 45 seconds or so. We're seeing some XC1 and XC2 riders, but that Howard's Hole can really be the difference maker. And judging by the way things are playing out time-wise, Rodney, I'm kind of doing some calculations in my head. Kind of adds a little bit extra drama when you think about the fact that we just saw Caleb Russell give up 50 seconds in Howard's Hole. Could go either way, and I think they're going to finish on that side of the mountain. So after they check in this next time, I think we might be seeing a white flag.
See a 2-lap board last time?
Well, we didn't. Oh, the 2-lap board is out. Didn't even see that, but that solves that. So, yes, they will be finishing on the Howard's Hole side of the mountain.
There you go. So,
man, I'm good.
You are good, man. You are good.
It's just math. I'm just kidding.
Well, you do this stuff long enough, you start to get the feel of it and everything. And, that I agree with you. Probably will be the tougher side of the mountain to finish on. But at the same time, Caleb lost 30 seconds on the other side of the mountain. You put that all together, I mean, I guess really 50 seconds, well, that was 50 more seconds he lost.
Yeah.
So he lost like a minute 20 seconds on that.
Yeah, because he was leading, had a good lead, and then, you know, came through, they were all together, and then lost more time on that side, and then lost. So you gotta wonder, well, from the update that we got from Mikey there, it sounded like they all came into Howard's Hole together.
Yeah.
So if that were the case, that means that Caleb had made up the 30 seconds that he had lost on the other side, but then lost that 30 plus another 20. So what we're getting at is there's big swings in time on both sides of the mountain, and they get to run them each one more time. So, you know, just when we think we've got a comfortable lead for Thad Duvall and Ricky Russell, only separated by 8 seconds, but a big, you know, whopping 50 seconds over Caleb Russell. There's no way that could possibly come into play. No way that, or actually over Josh Toth, I'm sorry. And they don't have quite that much on Josh. If we look at the elapsed time, they actually only have 34 seconds on Josh Toth, because it's elapsed time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, 26 seconds for Thad Duvall, and Josh Toth, who we haven't really been talking about, at 2 hours and 11 minutes. So he's 34 seconds behind Thad Duvall for the overall. So these are basically, at this point in looking at the times, you know, it's a big gap of over 3 minutes back to, well, 2 minutes and 50 seconds back to Jordan Ashburn.
Yeah.
Not that that isn't you know, obviously if things get crazy, but with the time swings that we've seen, this is pretty exciting. Top 4 within 50 seconds. In a normal GNCC, we'd say 50 seconds is a lot of time. Here, we've seen swings of 30 to 50 seconds in a few miles.
Yes.
So we could potentially see our whole top 4 thrown into a little mixing glass, shake it up, and throw them out on the table, and who knows who it's going to be. Could we see Josh Toth? When is the last time we had an XC2 Pro Lights rider win an overall? The answer is never. It has not happened.
2 wheels, right.
Not on 2 wheels. It has happened on 4 wheels.
Right.
Brian Wolf won here at Snowshoe from the XC2 Pro Lights class. Walker Fowler did it twice, once at Unadilla, once at Rock Run. It's been done 3 times in history, never on the 2-wheel side of things. Josh Toth, let's hype it up, Rodney. You're the king. Josh Toth, potential winner, XC2 Pro Lights, the NFAB and Pro Yamaha of Josh Toth. I think we may have just seen Jason Thomas check in. We always have to give this guy some love. Did he just check in, or am I seeing things?
Yes, he did. He most certainly did. Thomas has dropped to 19th place overall, but still holding a healthy and steady lead in the XC3 class. Johnny, I want to touch base real quick. We went through there an hour or so ago about how things were looking with all of our classes and everything, and we really didn't touch on the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report, but I do want to go back through some of these amateur classes again real quick to give you folks some updates and see how things are going through there right now. Again, as far as the overall is concerned, Duvall, Ricky Russell, Josh Toth, Caleb Russell, Jordan Ashburn, we've been talking about. Trevor Bollinger is 6th, Benjamin Kelly 2nd, the 250 Pro class, he's 7th overall. 8th is Grant Baylor, 9th Stu Baylor. Russell Bobbitt rounds out the top 10. Then Lane Michael, Austin Lee, Jesse Grom 13th, Chris Bach 14th, Ryan Sipes in 15th, Mike Witkowski 16th, Scott Grill 17th, Vance Francis 18th, 19th, Jason Thomas, Zach Nolan rounding out your top 20 out of Masontown, West Virginia. As we look at the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report, and brought to you by Mid-State Chevy at, well, there you can stack them deep and sell them cheap there in Flatwoods, West Virginia, in the heart of this great state. Jeff Staples leading still the senior 840-plus class out of New Hampshire. A minute and 42 seconds out of Bennington, Vermont's Jeffrey Odell, 7:55, and I guess we're going to go to. And then, of course, I guess we're looking at a 6-minute and 53-second gap right now to Martinsburg, West Virginia's Patrick Davis. Shotgun Sean Remington, only 26 seconds behind him. And rounding out the top 5, another New England. We got 3 New Englanders there. Sean Lebescu on his KTM number 351, rounding out the top 5. Then James Bennett, Albert DeMott in 7th, Rob Brown, Moto Fro is in 8th, Patrick Tobin in 9th, and Chris Boomba rounds out the top 10 in the senior 840-plus class. As we go to Open Beat Bike, it is after 4, Corey Jordan out front in this class, 7:41 out of Gainesboro, Tennessee, leading physically, and I think he's pretty much got that one locked down as far as the lead. He had an 11-minute and 18-second lead over Cody Stevens, the 407. 7:20, Matt Bruffy out of Weston, West Virginia. Basically, we got Gainesboro, Tennessee, and then New Cumberland, West Virginia in 2nd, Weston, West Virginia in 3rd, Fourth, Montrose, West Virginia's Jacob Pritt, the 227. Fifth, the 69 of James Harshberger out of Paramount, West Virginia. Then we see Aaron Lehman in 6th, Richard Taylor, the 433 in 7th, Gus Dial in 8th, Jacob Barnes, the 502 in 9th, and Brian Shell, the 707, rounds out the top 10 there in the Open B class. Tight race going on. Jacob Pritt only 8 seconds. Actually, I believe Matt Bruffy might have made the pass there on him just prior to the conclusion of that last lap, or third lap for them. Looks like 250 B class being led by Tyler Martin out of Parker, PA. 3 minutes and 33 seconds last time they checked in. Behind Martin was Dakota DeVore, the 526 from Uricksville, Ohio. Linton, Indiana's Brady Stefanik is the 510 in 3rd. Michael DeLosa, the 441 out of Gillette, PA in 4th. Cody Cleese out of Frostburg, Maryland, 222 in 5th. And Kyle Prismont in 6th. Grant Kerfman is 7th. Chase Suida is 8th. Blaine Kimry in 9th. And Denver Martin, the 3rd, rounds out your top 10. 200B class, we have Chase Colville out front of Seth Bevington, the 577. 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Another 4 minutes back to Brandon Keegan, the 864. In 3rd, Colt Johnson. Another 6 minutes back to him in 4th. Big gap back to 15 minutes back to Noah Stewart in 5th place. Trell Henderson is 6th. And Randy Smith rounds out 7th place. Those are the only ones to check in that class so far. 4-stroke B lights, Bolton B. Roth out of North Carolina, a 2-minute 1-second lead over Eric Ross to 445. They were looking at a kind of close race there over Sean Cochran, the 436 in 3rd. Gatlin Welburn, the 558, is running in the 4th place position. I think he's dropped a spot. Hunter Hart staying steady now in the number 5 spot. 371, Adam Parker is 6. 417, Evan Young is in the number 7 spot. 8 spot, Joe Spivey, 9th place. Jacob Harmon rounding out the top 10. Austin Evans, 4-stroke B lights class. Vet B class, Wayne Skidmore after 3 leading out of Mount Savage, Maryland over Jordan Overfield, the 609 from Morgantown, West Virginia. 7 minutes, 2 seconds. Another 9 minutes, 50 seconds back. In 3rd is the 920 of Jason Stickley from McDonald, PA, with Steve Lembruno, the 401 from Parsons, West Virginia. Only a second off time right now in 4th. Sean Royal, 413 from Sugar Grove, North Carolina, is 5th. And in 6th, the 419 West Morse. 7th, Mike Horwit. In 8th is the 778 Nathan Kaufman. Nathan Miller in 9th, and Larry Hopper, 124, rounds out your top 10 in the Vet B30 plus class. The senior B40 plus class, William Lackey pretty much led this one from the beginning. He has a 13-minute and 40-second lead over Jeffrey Flynn. Gregory Richardson, the 944 in 3rd. Mark Proper, 434 in 4th. The 150 of Devin Ferguson in 5th, with Mike Dembaski in 6th. 7th, Steve Turner. Darren Darmos is 8th. Hector Snethen in 9th. And Mike Felidis rounds out the top 10. XC2 class again is Josh Toth, Benjamin Kelly, Lane Michael, Austin Lee, who was leading at one point in 4th now. Jesse Grom in 5th. Mike Wachowski in 6th. Zach Nolan, Brendan Riordan, Nick Davis, and Ryder Lafferty round out your top 10. So we go next to the Fmf Xc3 class. Jason Thomas leading Hunter North. David Quillen back in the number 3 spot. Mark Oresco is 4th. Devin Welch is 5th. Jaron Williams in 6th. And Joshua Atkins rounding out 7th place. Looking next to the Open A class, Levi Keller, 185 from Bainbridge, Ohio, leading almost 12 minutes over Tyler Brutton, the 203 out of Troutman, North Carolina. Zach Tussle, Scotch Plains, New Jersey, the 47 is 3rd. Evan Earl, 39 from Blacksburg, South Carolina, in 4th. Connor Smith, 67 out of Denver, North Carolina, in 5th. Then it's Ben Parsons in 6th. Brady Myers is your 7th place rider, the 27. Kobe Backert, the 521, is 8th. Damon Rummel, the 383, in 9th. And Spencer Hoyt rounds out your top 10 on the 105. Alex Teagarden lead the 258 class out of Waynesburg, PA, almost 2 minutes over Cody Barnes, the 990 out of Sterling, Illinois. Jonathan Johnson out of Landrum, South Carolina, 981 in 3rd. 4th place, Bradley Lauder out of Saluda, North Carolina. And 5th place, 570, Matthew Kiefer from Monroe Township, Pennsylvania. And as we look back to 6th, so used to seeing this kid up front all the time and dominating class. He is 6th place, Jesse Ansley, the 28 machine. 811, Simon Johnson in 8th spot, the 75, Eric Douglas. Chase Hayes, the 36 in 9th, and Matthew Davis rounds out your top 10. You scared me, Mikey. I thought you were gone. As we go to the 200A class, Josh Brown, the 940 out of Pittsburgh, PA, leading Frank Hayes from Oakdale, Pennsylvania, the 539. That's my Tourette's kicking in. I got to say it that way. Eli Childers, the 339 from Hickory, North Carolina. He is third. 425, Clint Masters from Morgantown, West Virginia. And fourth, Nathan Davis from Vail, North Carolina. 463 rounds out the top 5. Then it's Brody Johnson in the 6th place position. Cash Jacobs in 7th. Alexander Luger in 8th. Johnny Manera rounds out the top 10. And those guys are the 200A class. We go to the 4-stroke A lights class. Joshua Lee out of Statesboro, Georgia, leading Tyler Braniff out of Terre Haute, West Virginia. Connor Keegan, the 85 from Coal Center, PA, is third. Fourth is Ryan Slopko, the 215 from Londonderry, Ohio. Then we've got Justin Murphy, the 84 machine from Morgantown, West Virginia. Brendan Poling, the 326 out of Grafton, West Virginia. 7th place is Braden Moore, the 967. Colin Keegan, the number 50, is 8th. Caleb Williams is 9th. And Cole Madison, 332, rounds out the top 10 in the 4-stroke 8 lights class. Next class we look at are Junior AB. These are the 25-plus class riders. And Nolan Cipher from New Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a near 11-minute lead over Andrew Boggs, the 44 of Masontown, West Virginia, who is second. 426, Joseph McCarty out of Mount Clair, 6 minutes, 47 seconds back in third. Nick Bush, the 438 out of Washington, West Virginia. And as fourth. Fifth is the 423 Randy Roberts out of Houtzdale, PA. 6th place, then Josh Lewis. Lane Hosler in 7th. Lee Nieper is 8th. Jesse Kildo is 9th. And Aaron Miller rounds out your top 10 Junior A, B, 25-plus class riders. Looking at the Vet A class, Joe Marsh is leading this one out of Indianola, Pennsylvania. He has about 6 minutes, 24 seconds over Joe Geyer, the 387 from Pittsburgh, PA. 134, Jared Hoffman from South Park, PA is third. 4th place, 92, Sam Forrester from Elkton, Maryland. 5th, Chance Baker, the 356 from Benton, Virginia. Bill Zavendi in 6th there, it looks like, aboard the 831. 455, Joe Dean in 7th. Jesse Arsenal, the 277, is 8th. 9th, 358, John Beaver in 10th place. 384, Chris Silverman. And that's going to wrap up your Midstate Chevy Midway Report as we say thanks to Midstate Chevy, the official truck provider of GNCC Racing and the home of your next new car, truck, or van. They stack them deep and sell them cheap at the Flatwood exits off of I-79. Talk about our good friends at Midstate Chevrolet. And, of course, right now, as we pick the action back up, see what's going on right now, Mikey Wayne's back in studio with us. Quick check back to the front of the pack. Thad Duvall at last check was out front of Ricky Russell. Josh Toth had moved into third. Caleb Russell was having some issues. Not sure what those were other than getting stuck. Actually, he got stuck there in the mud hole at Howard's Hole, and he drops off to 4th place. Jordan Ashburn with like a man on a mission, but still almost 3 minutes down, rounding out the top 5 right now.
So as it came through, I'm not positive, but I think, well, I know for a fact Thad Duvall took a pit. Real quick splash of fuel, quick drink of water. But Caleb, I believe Ricky Russell was out in front of Thad. Caleb just came through the pits there, still back in 4th place as he pitted. Nothing major in the pit, just a quick... Is that guy holding a beer funnel? Just a quick splash of fuel for him and another drink. Ready to ride this thing out and make something happen here at the end.
Well, the end is near, my friends, at least for this weekend, and we still got some more. Ricky Russell just took that white
So that
flag.
was Ricky that was out in front of that.
That was Ricky, so it'll be 7 laps or 3.5 loops around Snowshoe Mountain here this year. That will give us our near 3 hours that we're looking for, or right at 3 hours. Ricky Russell heading into that last lap, if you will, on the east side of the mountain, the more challenging side of the mountain. Thad Duvall should be checking in here shortly as well, as Josh Toth has moved into 2nd place now. Where is Thad? It was Thad.
I didn't see Toth get around Thad.
I didn't either. Maybe, was Ricky? I mean, looking at what time was they scanned? I guess that's time scan 16:59:47. Yeah, so we got, looks like only that, what is the time between that? That is only a little over the 17 minutes. Oh, that's 17 hours. Where are we at? Let's look at this number right here. Oh, I'm looking at time scan, aren't I? Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Johnny, for pointing that out to me. I was one column over too far. 17:70:34, so add another 7 onto that. So, yeah, we're looking at about, 25 seconds, less than 25 seconds, separating Ricky Russell and Josh Toth right now. Lap time 23:41.8 for Ricky Russell, 23:41.2 for Josh Toth. They rode nearly identical laps on the west side of the mountain there.
Absolutely, and so I stepped out, and I just getting back here, so we have not seen Thad Duvall check through the scoring tent on...
There he is. Yes, he has checked in. He was 59.7 seconds back in the number 3 position.
Wow, that is a big change. And one thing that we got to point out here, this is NFAB and Pro Yamaha 1 and 2.
Wow.
Ricky Russell and Josh Toth, the 2 NFAB and Pro Yamaha riders, are 1 and 2 and winning the XC1 and XC2 class right now. If you could script the best possible day for NFAB and Pro Yamaha, this would be it. And you know, you got to wonder, with those guys only, like you said, running identical lap times down to within 0.6 of a second, with technically Josh Toth being quicker, so he's closing in on Ricky. It might only be 0.6 of a second, but if that was in motocross terms, he'd be making up miles. And the reality of it is, folks, we're going over to the rough side of the mountain right now.
And 24 seconds is not a lot to make up. We've seen it proven today time and time again, almost every lap, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. You know, things have been taking big swings, and every time we think we know the way this one's going to shake out, it seems to be completely different. Here is the number 1 FMF Factory KTM of Caleb Russell checking in, and now he is in, and he is 1 minute and 51 seconds behind the lead of Ricky Russell. What a big change that is. So he was 50 seconds by when we last saw him.
I think that's 151 behind Thad Duvall.
No, that is actually the time behind from the leader when they show that.
When did they start that?
Is it not?
No, it's not. It's the guy in front of him.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. We were looking at Josh Toth in the XC2 Pro Lights class. That's why his time is different. Okay,
right.
So he's 2 minutes behind Thad Duvall, who is 59 seconds behind Ricky Russell, correct? Right. Okay, sorry. That was my bad.
That's all right. I make all kinds of mistakes, but no, I thought maybe you knew something.
No. So there's 3. Today. So that would be 3 minutes out of the overall lead, and when we last saw him, he was 50 seconds.
Yeah.
So what a big change. Or actually, it would have been 58 seconds because Ricky Russell was 8 seconds behind Thad Duvall.
Wow, big change of events. I think we have to say that Snowshoe Mountain is living up to its claim as its tribute to the Blackwater 100, giving us as race fans, keeping us on our toes, to say the least, as to wondering what's going to happen next, who's going to come through first next time. And next time somebody comes through first, they're going to be taking checkers, and somebody's going to win this one, Johnny Gallagher.
Can you imagine the anticipation of the folks sitting down at Howard's Hole if they realize what they're up against right now, knowing that they have 2 potential first-time winners coming their way, separated by 24 seconds. One of them's going to, I mean, from the looks of things, you know, Thad Duvall being 59 seconds back, that means he's about 34 seconds behind Josh Toth.
And the irony of this, check this out, one coming from the northeast, one coming from the northwest. And neither one of these guys growing up in GNCC racing.
If we know anything about West Virginians, they don't like foreigners. that welcome them with open arms, but they don't want to see him win. They want to see Thad Duvall win this thing. And if Thad Duvall can't win it, Caleb Russell will be the next best one, because he's kind of, sort of from West Virginia in a roundabout way with family ties and all. But they may not get their way. They may. You just never know. As we sit and we wait and we watch, things could.
Will the mud fleas be a bigger factor in this year's racing while we realize? Stop right there, guys. They'll form a human wall. Boy, that would really, really stink for those guys. But I'm just kidding, and they wouldn't do that. That's the great thing about the mud fleas. Though they may be cheering for someone, they're not crazy enough to go and do anything silly like that right there. Well, we got some footage, it looks like, from our NBC Sports Network camera crew here, and some of the places and far reaches that we can't reach. And Johnny, man, you might recognize some of this track, but look, that's what it's like, man. That's how gnarly it is. And, I mean, this guy's going from one side of the track to the other.
Well, you know, the great thing about having this in slow motion is you can just see how much these guys are moving around on these machines to try and keep them going, anything that even resembles straight.
Look at that.
Here's the crazy part. Do you know where this is, Rodney?
Is that the section that we watched, the fresh section that we watched?
No. This is just the entrance to the pro pits.
Really?
This is not like some crazy faraway land. This just leads up to the VP Fuels Pro Row, guys.
Man.
This is just an access road.
Wow.
So you can imagine how tough the actual tough parts of the course are.
Mercy. Yes. Yeah, these guys have, you guys faced a lot out there yesterday, and they're facing a lot here today. I mean, maybe that's why people come from all over just to try to make one lap at this venue.
Absolutely. Oh, look at that. Even
My
Josh
goodness.
Toth struggling. Currently second place overall. We saw him just a few moments ago as we watched this super slow-mo. And actually now we're seeing some slow-mo from out Rodney. Now this is the section you were talking about earlier where they were coming through and when it was all pristine and you could see ferns and green, and now we see Ricky Russell working his way through and he was struggling really with the conditions, but it's getting a lot tougher. Mikey Wayne, you can look and see it's really, these guys are struggling through. They're bashing their hands off handguards off trees, and this was all nothing but ferns and beautiful green grass just a few moments ago. And now we're looking at these guys just pushing, forcing, willing their machines through these sections, if you will, because they know they've got to get through here to get to the finish and to get the win.
It's incredible to think of what we saw earlier out of that and the conditions it's in now. I mean, you talked about it. Kevin Trantham talked about it yesterday, the changing conditions lap after lap out here. It's almost like racing a different track from one lap to the next. So taking a look at this, again, Ricky Russell out in front. I'm not real sure what happened to Thad Duvall out there. They were running well out in front and really pretty close to each other, but now after that pit, Thad back in third, and Josh Toth, we've been talking about it all race long. Well, what was a time adjustment? Well, there's no time adjustment because he started on the front row with these guys, but we keep talking about perhaps Josh Toth being the first XT2 rider to take an overall. That could happen out here today, and boy, that would be incredible.
I'm going to take Rodney Tomlin's famous line. Could we see history made here today at the Snowshoe GNCC right here on GNCC Racing, on GNCC Live on RacerTV, folks? If you're at home, you better fill up those drink cups, get those snack holders full, because you better stay tuned to this television for the next, as we're 2 hours and 43 minutes and 44 seconds into this one. We are barring down on just the last few moments until we find out. It's looking as though, I mean, obviously Thad Duvall could come back. He's not at an insurmountable difference of 59 seconds behind the leader, Ricky Russell. We've seen bigger swings than that in less time and less distance on this race course. It's so dynamic. It's so fluid the way this race has been shaping up. But if we're just going to go with the two guys right now that are up front, 1 and 2, separated by 24 seconds, that's the closest gap among the top 5. That is Ricky Russell and Josh Toth. Neither of those guys have won a race. Neither of those guys have won a GNCC. Ricky Russell has won races in XC2. Josh Toth has won races in XC2. Josh Toth is on a high right now. He's won 6 out of the first 7 races. Ricky Russell is potentially staring down the barrel of his first XC1 win. And the man that is closest to being the deciding factor on whether or not he gets to see that come to fruition is the man who has the opportunity to rewrite history and become the first XC2 Pro Lights rider ever in the history of GNCC to win an overall. He needs to make up 24 seconds to make it happen in this final lap of racing. And at the pace he's on of 0.6 of a second on the last lap, it doesn't seem like it's enough. But then you look at it, we've got what is arguably, actually unarguably, the most iconic area of GNCC Racing section, if you will, Howard's Hole. This has been a part of GNCC Racing since 2007. For 11 years, we've seen this Howard's Hole come up and play a huge role in the finishes of races. And today, it could possibly play the biggest role in one of the biggest stories in GNCC Racing history, with Josh Toth potentially winning if he can make up that 24 seconds. Ricky Russell leading the way. If Josh Toth can't make that up, Ricky Russell could be the one to cross the line and get his first ever XC1 victory. Or could Thad Duvall channel all of the love and all of West Virginia's Country Road, Take Me Home, I don't like that song. Is he going to channel all that and come through the pack, come through those two guys in front of him and get the win in his home state? So many scenarios going to play out, and we're going to see them all right after this.
Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. Sound art is elegantly hidden behind a high-grade, textured canvas wrap, bringing together the best of sound and art. This innovative design allows for a truly invisible, high-fidelity sound experience without bulky speakers. Sound art by Ansia. Your art never sounded so good.
Racer, Ranger, Sportsman, Ace. If you live for the outdoors, there's a Polaris to match your passion. Confident, comfortable, capable. That's Ace. With a solo cockpit, automotive controls, independent suspension, all-wheel drive, and up to 45 horses of fuel-injected power. Calling it revolutionary would be an understatement. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2018 Yamaha YZ450F is arriving soon at LoJack Cycle Sales. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service and 15 national championships, we know racing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and view our online inventory at lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Welcome back to GNCC Live here at Snowshoe Mountain Resort. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher and Mikey Waynes as let me rephrase that. Rodney Tomlin along with X Factor GNCC champion Johnny Gallagher and Mikey Waynes here as we make the call here on the final lap in the final moments of this Snowshoe GNCC. And I got to tell you, again, you know, as we always do, expect the unexpected when you come to a GNCC, and even more so when you come to Snowshoe. And, you know, some years we've seen it go according to what we've seen in the early part of the season. But this year, man, we've seen so many things. And leading up to this event, I think that this, you know, the changes that we saw with, you know, Thad taking those 2 wins and the mix-up all the way through the field, it wasn't just Caleb that we saw having problems. If you look through the entire field, there were a lot of mix-up that's been taking place over the last 2 or 3 rounds or so of GNCC racing. And seeing that, noticing that, some riders starting to excel and things are starting to come together, it was only obvious that we could expect truly the unexpected here today. And I'm not saying that I totally didn't expect to see Ricky Russell win. I just didn't know when it was going to be. And if you look at the big picture, though, a couple of weeks ago and a couple of races before that, we've seen him on track to get this right here done. And then coming into these conditions, not knowing what his mindset was, you know, it was a thing that was up in the air. And obviously he came in with the right mindset today, and he's using every bit of skill he has ever gained throughout his entire motorcycle racing career, I think, right here today.
You know, and Rodney, that's an interesting point you point out there with talking about Ricky Russell's career leading up to this point. Josh Toth and all these riders have taken different paths to get to this point. The 2 riders that are in 3rd and 4th, obviously Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell, are products of GNCC racing. They started off in our youth ranks. Ricky Russell and Josh Toth came from different series and worked their way here. So potentially this morning we had an 8 a.m. race that was our youth race, and we could see the next Caleb Russell or Thad Duvall coming right up from that 8 a.m. race to someday battle in the XC1. And I think we have a little feature on just who got the job done today here in our 8 a.m. race. And maybe we'll see these guys up here shaking it up with the Ricky Russells and Josh Toth and Thad Duvalls and Caleb Russells of the world here soon. It was...
Yeah, it was Peyton Whitby's first win of the season, I believe, and he and Zach Davidson have been basically battling it out all year. We're going to catch some of the highlights from that coming up here shortly. So, well, here's those highlights now, Johnny.
Yep, it was Peyton Whipke taking the win and Zach Davidson in 2nd, and I believe it was Ryder LeBlanc in that 3rd place overall position. So you see these young riders up here, you know, they get the same snowshoe start right there on the pavement, and they take off. The course is obviously dialed down a little bit, not quite as technical for them, but still it's a unique challenge for them. And Peyton Whipke's a rider that we've seen, you know, up there and really getting better as the year goes on.
Well, Peyton Whipke, man, it took 8 rounds. You're finally here. You're going to be the center of the box, man. First place finish.
Yeah, it was amazing. I started on the 5th row because it was a random pick, and I'm not the top 5. And I just put my head down and charged, and I knew if I could just keep passing everybody and I just keep pushing as hard as I could, and I kind of figured that Zach would kind of lose off the pace since he was way out front. And then I saw him, and I was like, there's no way that's him. It was like on like the second or third lap, and I just stayed with him, and then just kind of rode my own race, and we battled back and forth a little bit. And then on the 3rd lap, I lost my back brakes, and then right here by the finish, he took me out. Well, didn't take me out. He kind of took himself out. But, yeah, it was a good race.
Good work, man. Is this what we're going to see from you in the future?
I hope so.
All right, back to you guys in the studio.
Well, there you go. Peyton Whipke, man, making things happen out there. And
first one of the year.
Yeah, that's impressive stuff. And he and Zach Davis, like I said, been going back and forth at it all season long. So good job for Peyton there. And
I just got to say, that has to be the coolest name. Every time you guys say it in the morning when we're listening at 8 a.m., when you say that, Peyton Whipke, like there's an extra whip in there, and it's just a cool name. And yeah, those young men battling hard, and you know, again, we may soon see them up in the XC2 and then even the XC1 class. And
it'll be quicker than what we think. Honestly, I was looking back, and you know, 10 years ago, Stu Baylor and Grant Baylor. Grant Baylor was riding a 65cc the first time that he raced here, believe it or not. Yeah, Stu Baylor, I think, was what, in the mini 12 to 13 super mini class. And
that's the crazy part, you know, and then kind of showing my age here, but I'm fine with it. I mean, I can vividly remember Caleb Russell riding a mini. It seems not at all that long ago. I can remember Thad Duvall filming for a video with Thad Duvall riding a little 65 or 60 around. It wasn't even a 65. It was a KX60. His helmet was too big for him. I have video footage. We need to get that and get it on the show one of these days. His helmet's too big for him. It's bobbling around. This is when his dad, you know, obviously Bad Chad was kind of king of the hill, or you know, one of the kings of the hill there in the ATV ranks. And we were filming a video, and Thad came along and was just bebopping his way around the field on his little 60, and now here he is out here battling for XC1 wins. And you know, now I look at Thad and I see him as obviously a peer and a fellow XC1 racer. And all those years ago, he was just some little kid hopping around. So you just never know. You know, little kid you see riding a bicycle. You got the little Ryder McCormick out there on his Strider. You got J.P. Pickens. You know, all these kids that are stridering around.
The little Mullins boys, man.
Yeah, the Mullins boys are riding. They've already got little e-bikes.
Yeah.
So they're practicing. You got, who knows how long until you're announcing Crew Russell. You know, he's out there. I see him ripping around on his Strider. So this is like the next generation of GNCC. You know, these kids, the Striders are a new thing, and they're teaching these kids bike skills at an even younger age. So as good as, you know, your Caleb Russells and Thad Duvalls of the world are, that, you know, grew up with obviously with minis that are worlds in a way better than what the generation before them had. You know, now you've got kids that are on Strider bikes at 1 year old. So bike skills are getting better. They're just going to continue to improve. How long until we see a little Tomlin out there mixing it up?
Well, it's a matter of getting by. I had a 50 for him, but he's outgrown his 50.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of finding a 60 in my price range that I can afford free. And
well, there we go. If anybody's got a 60cc machine stuffed away in their garage that they want to, I'd be happy to refurb that thing for you there, Rodney. Get her all stickered up and make it look cool so we can get Rodney's little boy out there and ripping on the.
You know, I'd like to say it. I'll say it. I've watched a lot of riders. My kid's got a lot of potential.
Yeah. We've talked about that. You said he's just got that killer instinct. So, but again, it's cool to see those riders come up through. It's cool that we get an opportunity to feature them here on RacerTV and give them their due, because they work hard. They deserve it, and you know, they're out there racing with all the same intensity and same focus that these XC1 and XC2 pros are.
Less than 10 minutes out right now, Johnny Gallagher, as we start to turn our focus down here toward the finish line and the conclusion of this Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC, the 11th running. I'm starting to get goosebumps now as I start to realize the kind of historic day that we may be looking at here. As we've already pointed out, two riders not growing up in this championship series. Two riders, one from the extreme northeast, one from the extreme northwest, tackling Snowshoe Mountain here in the heart of the nation in some of the toughest and most challenging terrain. And they're taking to it like a fish to water, man.
And the toughest of the terrain is just in front of them, Howard's Hole. There's thousands of fans down there. There's a camera down there that doesn't work because some quad guy ripped out the fiber optic cable. those darn quad guys. But, folks, if you can just imagine, close your eyes and think about everything that you've seen on screen. Those of you watching earlier, you got to see some NBC Sports footage of exactly what it looks like down there. You didn't get to see bikes coming through, but now imagine hundreds of machines trying to work their way through there lap after lap, and how much even more chewed up it's going to be, and it's just going to continue to get tougher and tougher. And, man, I wish there was some way we could get a play-by-play of these guys coming through Howard's Hole.
Well, I'm actually going to try to get on the radio here and try to listen for something, and if we can get on that, I will let you know. I'm going to go ahead and talk to the radio crew. I know it's been a while since we've done this, but
yeah, absolutely. If you work on that, and we'll continue to kind of keep tabs on how things are going here. It's, right now, again, for those of you tuning in at home, if you're just now tuning in, it's okay. You've missed a great race up till now, but you know what? The best is yet to come. You have an opportunity to see history. Ricky Russell out of Duval, Washington, on that NFAB AmPro Yamaha is leading the way from that XC1 Pro class. But Josh Toth, the XC2 Pro Lights class leader, who also started on row 1 because he is in the top 5 in points, 5th place in the overall points coming into today, started himself, rubbed elbows with the best of the best up there. The top 5 fastest guys in the world right now were on row 1, and Josh Toth was among them, and he has proven today that he belongs right up there with those guys as he sits in a 2nd place overall position, only 24 seconds behind his teammate, Ricky Russell. And again, the NFAB AmPro Yamaha 1-2 looming large could be a possibility. And no matter what the order, if those two guys remain 1-2, either one of them, it would be their best finish ever. Ricky Russell's best finish is 2nd. Josh Toth has never been on an overall podium. So if they can stay there, both of these guys are looking at their best ever finish. But I can assure you, they both want the win.
Most definitely. And right now, physically on the racetrack, that's what separates them. And it was only, what did we figure that out to be, like
24 seconds.
24 seconds that separated those two guys. And with lap times identical on that side of the mountain, we pointed out this is the technical part of it. The lap traffic deeper into it at this particular time. More riders are showing attrition, loss of that. They're losing against the physical fitness aspect of it, so they're making more mistakes. They're going to be tougher to make passes on out there, especially in the technical areas. And Howard's Hole, like we keep pointing out, has got to be that much more challenging this final lap.
And not only that, Howard's Hole, it's an interesting obstacle because the speeds are so slow there. The terrain is so technical. The ruts are so deep. There's so many riders stuck there. You have to, let's put this in perspective. I don't know the exact distance of Howard's Hole, but let me explain this. Howard's Hole, envision this in your mind. You saw that, what you saw was just one clip. That's kind of the main part of it. But it's about probably 200 yards earlier that the chaos starts, and about a half a mile later, well, a quarter of a mile later, that the chaos ends.
Really?
So all told, you're looking at 3 to 4 tenths of a mile of just pure determination and grit to get through that. To go from start to finish, from the time you drop off the hill and start into Howard's Hole till the time you reach the relative safety of the ski slope and the about mile and a half of easy ski slopes that bring you up to the top of the finish, just in that 3 to 4 tenths of a mile, it's about 2.5 minutes of time that you're going to spend there. So 24 seconds is just a drop in the bucket. And a normal and a high-speed ski slope, you are going to cover, these guys are running upwards of 60 mile an hour, which means that they're going to cover a mile in 1 minute.
Right.
So, from Howard's Hole to the finish, you're probably only looking at less than 2 minutes, even though it's a mile and a half. But that 3/10 of a mile that is Howard's Hole, the approach to it and the exit from it is probably about 2.5 minutes for 3/10 of a mile. What that does is it condenses the severity of a mistake and exponentially increases it. So if whether it be Ricky Russell or Josh Toth picks a bad line, you're not talking about losing 2 or 3 seconds or gaining 2 or 3 seconds. You're talking about losing 20 or 30 seconds, and you have to make, just off the top of my head, as I'm thinking, you come down and it splits again. There's some rocks, roots, out, hole, another hole, turn, rocks, roots. You have to make give or take 7 or 8 decisions on lines to take from the time you enter until the time you exit. It's not like you pick a line and ride it all the way through. You have 7 or 8 decisions that are real. Sure, there's different lines you can take that just pop out in the same place. One might be 1 or 2 seconds faster, but I'm talking race-winning, position-altering decisions 6 or 7 times in 3/10 of a mile that could add up to easily 24 seconds. Let's make this even more exciting. Thad Duvall only 59 seconds behind. If they get there and there's lappers, that is not an insurmountable amount of time to make up in just that one section. Well, we could see Thad Duvall up here battling for the win.
No doubt. And in about 5 or less minutes, we will know the tale of this story, and we will know what the ending of this story is going to be like as far as this day of racing in the 11th running of the Amsoil Snowshoe GNCC. Again, our tribute to America's toughest race, the Blackwater 100.
As we look on screen here, we see Ryan Ballou and Lucas Statham. Those are the mechanics for Ricky Russell and Josh Toth. So those guys are best buddies. They hang out all the time. You know they're both pumped there to know that their riders are 1 and 1-2. But at the same time, you got to wonder, you think there's a little inter-squad rivalry going on right now? One of these guys potentially, obviously they want to see themselves 1-2. But while they're both fist bumping each other and saying, man, we're going to make this happen, you know, secretly between the two of them, they're thinking, I hope it's my guy that pops up over the edge of that hill first.
Right. They want the bragging rights, as do the riders themselves in particular, as we are moments away, my friends, from a historic race finish here at the Snowshoe GNCC. I should say another historic finish at the Snowshoe GNCC as we go into these days, and we never know what's going to happen at any given race, and in particular this one at Snowshoe, West Virginia, leads us to believe that anything is possible when it comes to the world of motorcycle and ATV racing. And we see it here again today as dreams are coming true. And Ricky Russell, who began his dream so many years ago, what are we talking, 7 years ago, I believe, when we first saw Ricky Russell make his way into the GNCC Racing Nation for the first time. And of course, that dream started way before that, not only to race GNCC, but the ultimate dream to win a championship. But before you can win championships, you got to win races, and he is certainly making and building that dream on the road to a possibility of that later. Again, it's only a race win, but you got to start somewhere, Johnny Gallagher.
If you want to talk about a Cinderella story, Ricky Russell loaded up his van with 2 KTM 350 motorcycles and drove from Washington State, knowing no one, having no plan, just coming here to check out GNCC racing. He said, I'm going to do it for a year, maybe if I can, and do well enough that I might be able to move up and, you know, possibly get a ride on one of these smaller teams. And that was his dream. His dream in 2013 as he drove across the country, envisioning what it would be like to race in the most prestigious off-road racing circuit in the United States and potentially in the world. Coming from series out there, which are obviously great series, he knew if he wanted to be the best, he needed to race with the best. He packed up a van, he came here, he made some friends with Randy Hawkins and that group. Many of those men we're looking at on screen there, and said, I'm going to make this work. And it wasn't easy. He blew up both of his motorcycles before the first race and did not have a motorcycle to race. Made friends with our then champion, Paul Whibley, who loaned him a Yamaha YZ450. This is how Ricky Russell came to ride Yamahas in the first place. He came here on KTMs. His motorcycles, for one reason or another, didn't make it ready for the first race. He borrowed a bike from Paul Whibley, liked it, ended up purchasing a bike from Paul, raced Yamahas through that first year, full privateer effort on a Yamaha YZ450 in the XC1 class. No outside help at all, just out of his pocket. Picked up a few small sponsors here and there along the way. Ground out those 15th place finishes. Then it was 12th place finishes. Then it was, got his first top 10. And the next thing you know, he had his first top 5. And he's kind of, you know, he ran the XC2 class for 2 years, got some wins. Looked like he was on the way to a championship. He's on the rise, and he had that bad break of his wrist, had to have surgery, set back. Last year, running that XC2 class again, so close, so many times, grabbing wins, couldn't get that championship. This year, because of age restrictions, he had to run XC1. Or actually, I'm sorry, last year he was running XC1 as well. Got those podiums for that MCS Suzuki team at the end of the year, his first podiums of his career. Things started to look up. Coming in this year, got that shot, got that first opportunity on one of the top-tier factory teams with that NFAB Ampro Yamaha, and he's been finding his groove, meshing with that team, and could today be the day that it all pays off.
Anytime now, we should be seeing our leader making his way into the camera view and the final moments of the Snowshoe GNCC. Will it be Ricky Russell?
I got chills, Rodney.
Or can Thad Duvall come from behind, nearly a minute down, chase these guys down, and pass them and win here at home in the great state of West Virginia?
That's Ricky Russell. Ricky Russell is on the approach to the finish line, folks.
Ricky Russell, the Cinderella story is about to come to a close. Here is this young man from the great state of Washington, here to the great state of West Virginia, does it, finally takes his first ever win here at the Snowshoe GNCC.
Woo! Go, Ricky Russell rides the wheelie across, makes the stop. He's going to rev that thing to the moon. He has just won his first GNCC overall, folks. What a feeling. What a day. We'll wait and see. Is that second place Josh Toth that just crossed the line just behind him?
It was, and as we look at that right now, he was only about 8 seconds behind him whenever he checked in right there. And here comes who?
Thad Duvall.
Thad Duvall.
Look at the time he made up as well. What a charge. There it is, folks. That there is something that those guys got to be super pumped about. The NFAB Pro Yamaha 1 and 2. Ricky Russell taking the win in XC1 and overall. Josh Toth taking the win in XC2 and second overall. And here comes the 989 Factory Rockstar Husqvarna of Thad Duvall. He's congratulating those guys. You know, he wanted to get the win today, but he's got to be pumped just to be on the podium, and he's pumped for his buddies.
Well, you know, Randy Hawkins has to take a little credit for this. He used to be an NFAB Pro Yamaha rider, too, so in that sense, maybe Randy can pat himself on the back and saw, hey, man, I helped all these guys at one time in their career, helping 2 of them right now, but wow, what a day. Ricky Russell taking the win. Josh Toth, the new name from out of the Northeast, coming in here, taking the XC2 Pro class by storm. And today he took Snowshoe Mountain by storm as well, finishing up in second place. And folks, I tell you, I think that Thad Duvall is probably a little excited for them as well. He may be truly disappointed, and rightfully so, that he couldn't win here in his home state. But at the same time, he knows what it feels like to be able to achieve such greatness.
You know, Rodney, there's a camaraderie amongst these guys, and sure, they're competing against each other, and obviously they want to beat each other. They want to win. There's, you know, there's prestige, there's points, there's money, there's contracts, there's lives on the line. But the reality of it is, when you put yourself in that position, when you fight day in and day out, you know the training, you know the preparation, you know the sacrifice that goes into it. When you see someone who you've seen make all those same sacrifices, dedicate themselves to it, when you see them finally have that success, on some level, you can't help but feel exactly what they're feeling, which is, wow, this guy's worked for it, and today's the day that it paid off for him. I believe we may, nope, I'm sorry, it is not Caleb Russell. I thought we had Caleb Russell coming in, but, you know, so absolutely, I think Thad Duvall, as bummed as he might be to, you know, to ultimately not get the win today, he's got to be happy. Points-wise, good day for him. He's going to make up some points on his championship rival, Caleb Russell, and also to be on the podium, to get a chance to celebrate in front of the hometown fans, that's obviously a great opportunity, and he's going to be up there with 2 first-time best finishers. Ricky Russell has been on an overall podium before, but his first XC1 and first overall win, and Josh Toth's first overall podium. Thad Duvall's kind of got the been there, done that thing, but at the same time, it's exciting for him to get to experience that and share that with those guys.
It most certainly is. And again, just an amazing feat from a box fan and 2 broken down KTMs to just, well, a little over 5 years later. It was a long, hard climb, man. And you think about it, was it worth it to him? I mean, he went through a lot of struggles, and there was, I'm sure, days and nights that he thought, I'm headed back west, my friends. But you know what? He stuck to it. He stayed here. He chased that dream, and the dream of winning a race in a GNCC, that part of it finally comes true.
Well, let me tell you, you can ask the question, is it worth it? But I was asked that question a lot of times a few weeks ago. And the reality it is, 23 years, it was worth every sacrifice. It was worth every hardship. It was worth everything you could ever imagine. So Ricky Russell, 7 years into this, he's not even going to hesitate when you ask him that question. Heck yeah, it was worth it, and he's going to say it's going to be worth it, whether it's another 14 days until I get to do it again, or whether it's another 14 years. I'm going to keep he's been bit by the bug, and he's not going anywhere, folks. There's a GNCC lifer that just won his first GNCC.
Amen on that. And man, I tell you, to be able to witness it today is rather inspiring to me, man. I mean, that's, you know, I've witnessed so much history at GNCC, and each week, I guess you could say there's a sense of history being written as Caleb Russell makes his way into the finish line ranks. A minute and 51 seconds down at the end of, well, when they came off the west side and headed into that final loop there on the east side of the mountain. He is, well, was nearly 2 minutes down. I have to think that that is maybe opened up a little bit. Let's see what it says now. 3 minutes and 41 seconds. So that getting stuck for Caleb Russell not only lost him a lot of time, but it seems like it must have busted his momentum a little bit too.
Yeah, he's headed straight back to the hauler. He didn't appear to have a lot to say. You know, a 4th place finish in conditions like this, or in any race, is obviously nothing to shake a stick at. But when you're Caleb Russell and you're used to winning races, and you need to win races to satisfy that need, that desire, he's not happy. He's going to go home, go back, and you know, Caleb's a good friend of mine, and I wish him all the best. And I'm not saying this to to bring up anything bad, but when's the last time we saw 3 races in a row that Caleb Russell was not on the podium? I don't think this
not
is
just a win, but not on the podium.
No, I don't think this is some kind of a downward spiral or anything. I think these were tough conditions today, and one way or another, Caleb was either outridden or outline choiced, or however you want to look at it, and he'll go home, he'll work hard, and I don't anticipate it being real long until we see Caleb Russell come back with a vengeance.
Well, it goes to that, you raise the bar and you set the level. People are going to try to achieve it and reach it, and that's what they have been doing. Now it's time for Caleb to raise that bar one more time.
Here comes our 5th place finisher, Jordan Ashburn, on that number 4 factory beta. He works his way through so close, was up there battling for top 5 early, ended up in that 5th place spot. I think he wanted to put that charge in and go for the podium, but man, it was a tough race course. Jordan's got to be happy to get some good points and chip away at trying to get himself a good finish. Judging by our scrambled screen here, I think we're looking at Trevor Bollinger, the number 5 JCR Honda, and that's who it is. He's worked his way through, and now he will be in the 6th place spot in overall and 5th place in XC1.
Well, Jordan Ashburn may have missed the podium this year, but you got to still commend him out there as he takes that 300 beta machine. He has normally been riding the 450, but Rodney Smith and both Jordan told me today that they elected to go with the 300 here in the rocks. And
he was riding the 2-stroke?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
That's what unless they change.
No. We have no sound.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm just saying, unless they change their mind.
That's cool.
The 300 is what he was going to be.
Grant Baylor got back around Stu even after multiple stops to clean out the radiator, fill up the coolant on that machine. He was able to get back around Big Brother Stu, put quite a bit of a gap on him too. I think we might. Nope, that's not Stu there. So it's going to be Grant Baylor in the 7th place position.
Yep, 7th place right now, unless something changes on that. We're waiting on Ben Kelly to check in right now, the number 12, who would be 8th place overall, and that'd be your second, the XC2 250 Pro class. But again, there was a 5-minute, 10-second gap that separated he and the winner there of Josh Toth. Now, as far as back behind Ben Kelly, it was Fairmont, West Virginia's Lane Michael, and Lane was another 4 minutes and 22 seconds back. Wow, the separations, you say that big monumental time, but, that's kind of a tradition here at Snowshoe. It's either really close or really spread out.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Mikey and I. He was asking about the starting and the 5 seconds here and the 10 seconds there and all that. And the reality of it is, and it does happen for sure. The time corrections here, they're kind of an afterthought. You think about those things after the race. You just got to think about getting your way around this course. It's a tough course, it's a brutal course, but Rodney, you asked me earlier if I would feel differently about this track if I'd done well. And to be honest with you, I feel a little bit differently right now because, what it is GNCC racing is about anybody coming and on any given day, anybody can win. And this is a different type of track. And just because it doesn't, yesterday it didn't suit me. There's times where I've done really well here. It just kind of caught me off guard with how tough it was. But you know what? It was tough again today. And the 2 toughest men on the mountain were 2 men that maybe nobody had on their short list, or few people had on their short list of guys to watch out for the win. 8 seconds separated 2 riders, both chasing dreams, looking for their first ever XC or first ever overall win, and respectively ultimately winning the XC1 and XC2 Pro Lights class. Ricky Russell and Josh Toth, followed by West Virginia's own Thad Duvall. That makes up your podium for the day, and we're going to get to see some extra podiums today. It's been a while since we've seen this.
Right, yeah.
Because we get to do an overall podium, and then we'll do an XC1, and then we'll do an XC2. So we get 3 podiums today, and obviously our XC3 and then our overall amateur. So for all the fans that are here, don't pack up your coolers and head home just yet. Work to the town center there and head to the podium and check out the...
Celebration isn't over yet, man. It's not over inside the village square. Head there and celebrate with our overall top 3. Welcome those, Josh Toth to the podium, and also Ricky Russell to the winner's circle, because those guys have worked so hard. They've dreamed so long to be where they are right now. Just an amazing place to be.
Well, hold on a second. Josh Toth hasn't dreamed that long. I think he's 18 years old.
Well,
I'm joking.
Well, and you talk to Josh, though. I bet you go back to when he was like 12.
Oh, sure.
Years
No,
old.
It was meant in jest that he's a young man, and
he is, and he looks like Does he even shave yet? I see the kids.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I'm like, who is that? That's Josh. That's right. He doesn't even look like he'd drive a car, let alone ride a motorcycle like this.
We talk about riders that, maybe they're going to get carded if they try and, not that they smoke, but if they would try and buy cigarettes. Josh Toth probably gets carded to drive a vehicle. They see him get in a vehicle, and they're like, listen, little boy, can we see your driver's license? And today he was the second baddest man on the mountain. your first place finisher in XC2 Pro Lights and second place overall. There is Stu Baylor. The first time we have seen him finish off a podium in 2017, other than the race where he was succumbed to some viral infections. Oh, Rodney, look at this. No knobs on Stu Baylor's rear tire. Absolutely zero. We talked about that earlier with the choices made. I'm betting Stu Baylor chose to go with a soft, gummy tire, and he was really struggling to even make it around the track with no knobs whatsoever. Look at that. Look at that rear tire. Not a single knob left on that thing. Nothing but a carcass and smooth rubber.
Well, if he leans it over in the turns, he might.
Probably what he had to do when he got stuck. He had to lean one way or lean the other because you're not getting any traction on a tire with no knobs on it.
Wow, that is just nuts right there. But, you know, that's that you roll the dice sometimes, and you take that risk, you take that gamble. Sometimes it pays off. If it'd been a little wetter, it might have been a situation that paid off for him. It got a little drier in some of the situations, might have wore those knobbies down a little quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that'll be weighing heavy on his mind when he comes here next year and has to make that decision, or the next time we have a rocky, muddy race, and he'll be thinking, man, I thought that tire was going to be good at Snowshoe, and unfortunately I came across, what was it, ultimately 8th place position? Yep, 8th place overall, 7th place in that XC1 Pro class. Not at all a bad finish, but for Stu Baylor, the worst finish of his season, and the first time we've seen him off the podium, so you know he's not happy, but salvaging some valuable points, keeping himself in that championship points hunt. If we can, I'd like to take a look at the points at some point here and see exactly where we stand, because with Thad Duvall finishing in 3rd, that would be 21 overall points. Caleb Russell finishing in 4th, that would be 18 overall points, so 3 overall points made up by Thad Duvall today. And the gap, I believe, coming into this race, I know we were down below a 1-race gap. We had been...
it was 166 to 156, so 10 points.
10 points, so we're down to 7 now. Look at this. Is this Lane Michael? It is Lane Michael, and I believe this is now 2nd place in the XC2 Pro Lights class. He has worked his way around Benjamin Kelly. Lane Michael, from the depths of despair, was outside the top 10 early, just fought and fought and fought all day long, worked his way through. And is that Ben Kelly that just checked in right behind him?
Chris Bach was behind him.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Yep, no, this Chris Bach so far as the overall is concerned.
It was a tall, skinny guy on a KTM. I thought it might have been Ben Kelly, but it was obviously Chris Bach. So that would make Chris Bach 8th place in the XC1 Pro Lights class and 10th overall. So climbing back for a top 10 overall position is Chris Bach. Lane Michael in the 9th place overall position and 2nd in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So we'll wait and we'll wonder what exactly happened to Ben Kelly, because as you pointed out, 5 minutes behind Josh Toth going into the last lap, but 4 minutes ahead of Lane Michael. So there's a 4-minute gap made up there by Lane. Oh,
no, there isn't, because I was sitting there looking at just that. Lane Michael checked in a few minutes behind Benjamin Kelly last time, and he was 5 minutes and 10 seconds behind, looks like Josh Toth. So whenever Lane Michael checked in, he was 11:55 behind. So he somehow or another, something happened to Ben, and he's just kind of dropped out of there.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So he gave up 4 minutes or more to Lane. So yeah, that was. And that we do see. This looks to be maybe Ryan Sipes possibly coming in. Are we? Yes, that is Ryan Sipes, the 264. Rockstar Coastal Racing Husqvarna of Ryan Sipes checks in, and he is now up to the 11th place overall, which would put him 9th in XC1 Pro. He is checked in and complete. We still do not have our 3rd place rider, which we're still waiting and thinking it might be Ben Kelly, and it's not. It is Craig DeLong crossing the line, the number 9 Coastal Racing Husqvarna. 3rd place in the XC2 Pro Lights class and 12th overall is Craig DeLong. So something big happened to Ben Kelly. Had a ride that dreams were made of going on, and it wasn't quite to the finish. Something happened in that last lap of racing to drop him from 2nd place in that XC2 Pro Lights class to at least 4th as we sit and watch. So your top 3 in that XC2 Pro Lights class now checked in. Josh Toth, the winner. 2nd place, Lane Michael. And 3rd place, the Coastal Racing Husqvarna teammate of Lane Michael, Craig DeLong. So those guys, all 3 checked in. They'll be working their way over to the podium. But right now, it's going to be Josh Toth that's going to be celebrating the heaviest tonight. You know, he's not old enough to partake in too many celebrations, but you know he's going to be having himself a milkshake and maybe some chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, man, a milkshake sounds good right now.
And here we see the Mohawk man, the 1, 2, 3 of Austin Lee, the JCR Honda rider. So now that is 4 riders checked in the XC2 Pro Lights class, and still no Benjamin Kelly. So a heartbreaker. We'll hope that maybe just he got stuck and he can salvage a top 5. But right now he is missing from the running order. He's there we see the Mohawk. Austin Lee has run that since he was on what, 65s?
Yeah.
He still carried it over into the XC2 Pro Lights class. He, looks like a little toilet scrubber out there running around with that thing on top of his helmet.
Right now I'm looking, I did not see, let's see, who did you say took third? I guess that would have
Craig DeLong.
Craig DeLong. I haven't seen, according to timing and scoring, he nor Benjamin Kelly has checked in, but
Craig DeLong is definitely in. I saw him come in, saw the numbers, saw him talk to his dad. So his transponder did not read, but he is third. He came in roughly maybe 45 seconds to a minute ahead of Austin Lee. So Austin Lee will be the 4th place position. I do see you right though. Your screen is, the screen there is not showing him, but he definitely did come in. You can see actually he is sitting up there just to the left of the screen with his helmet off. Not that way, other way. Oh, and now we got, is that Benjamin Kelly? No, that is Russell Bobbitt, the 113 FMF Factory KTM rider, and this will be the 10th place rider in XC1.
I believe so.
Yep, 10th place in XC1, so a solid top 10 today for Russell Bobbitt. He's really finding his groove here in GNCC racing, and another top 10 for him to go with several more that he's gotten earlier in the season. He's wanting more, a multi-time Enduro champion, but it's a different format of racing. He's getting better all the time.
Most definitely. Well, he does it, man. He set out the dream so many years ago. It finally comes to fruition as looks like Ricky Russell, the rough and rowdy one, takes his first ever GNCC win. Josh Toth in second, Thad Duvall in third. We've got podium presentations and more coming up right after this.
Get the most protection for your vehicles and toys and the most bang for your buck with the Amsoil Preferred Customer Program. Join today and receive up to 25% savings on Amsoil products, exclusive product and shipping promotions, free Amsoil gear, points on all purchases, referral rewards. Register today and take advantage of all the benefits offered by the Amsoil Preferred Customer Program. Visit amsoil.com/PC.
Here at Rocky Mountain ATV-MC, we go beyond selling parts, apparel, and accessories. We take pride in supporting the sport. We're proud to sponsor GNCC Racing and the KR4 team. It's just one more way to show our dedication for the fans and riders of this great sport. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. At Rocky Mountain ATV-MC, we want to help increase rider participation at your next race, rally, or club event with our free Race Gas program. Join Race Gas, and every rider that signs up for your event or club gets a free $10 gift card to Rocky Mountain ATV-MC. It's that simple. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC Live as we are making our way over to the podiums here in just a couple moments to begin our celebrations as we've got our top 15 riders in that have checked in so far, and of course 14 riders so far that have checked in and the overall, and we still wait for the top amateurs right now, and we were watching that earlier today. Well, I'll tell you what, we got some changes in that late in the day. Well, no, not really, because that's right. Bainbridge, Ohio's Levi Keller, the 185. He's 24th overall, and he is your top finishing non-XC rider out there of the 258 class. Alex Teagarden is up to second for that at the moment, and we'll know more whenever they check in with their final lap complete there. But looking at third place in the overall from an amateur standpoint would have been, I think right now, 258 second place ride, Jonathan Johnson. So we got a little bit of time here to figure this out, and we'll know soon just exactly who those guys are. But we have got the rest of our scenarios figured out as far as XC1 and XC2 classes, and we'll figure out XC3 coming up here soon. The XC2 250 Pro class, Josh Toth, Lane Michael, and Craig DeLong Again, if you're watching timing and scoring, Johnny says that Craig came through, but he has not been scored in on the official times sheets yet because obviously his transponder did not score in, did not read in. So, but we're thinking that that is the case. So wait a minute. Okay, that was
check.
Back to the red back.
1, 2.
So it sounds like Mikey Waynes might be about ready up at the podium.
We are ready. Let me know how that sound is down there. Is that all right?
Well, the sound is good. We just don't have video yet, Mikey.
Okay. And a little bit of feedback. Crank mine down a little.
Can you crank it down on your end up there? I think
I got her cranked down to 5. I don't know how much lower I can go.
we might have to back down up there. They must really be driving up there right now.
It's pretty crowded. I crank her down a little more.
We definitely want to try to make sure that we get to see Ricky Russell on TV because I know his family from over in the great state of Washington have got to be just jumping up and down right now, totally elated as to how excited they are at this particular moment. And we are certainly excited for him as well.
1, 2, 1, 2.
And right now we wait patiently for podium presentations as more of these riders continue to check in here at Snowshoe Mountain and this 11th running. Again, Ricky Russell, John Toth, Thad Duvall, 1, 2, and 3. Caleb Russell in 4th. Jordan Ashburn in 5th. Trevor Bollinger holds on for 6th. Grant Baylor, the 314 and 7th. Stu Baylor with a bald rear tire. No knobbies in the center part of that tire. The 514 finishing 8th. Lane Michael, who finished 2nd in the XC2 250 Pro class, is 9th overall. And Chris Bach out of Hebron, Indiana, XC1 class rider, rounds out the top 10 overall. And
1, 2.
Stand by, Mikey, and I'll actually. Okay, Chelsea, can you back his microphone down a little bit in there? It's a little hot. Three.
Yeah, I'm all the way down to 3. Is that a little better? We're still getting a little feedback up here. And I'm all the way down at 1 now. Now I got nothing. That ain't coming through at all. No, now we're good. Hear us out there? I got nothing. How about now? How about now? Catch me outside. How about that? All right? Can you hear me in the back? All right, now we're getting some thumbs up. I can just stand by and keep her going. We got her up and running. One, 2. Still. No.
Well, working on a few technical difficulties. I think we may be in a little, still working on a video from the hole, or from the from the village now. Talked so much about Howard's Hole this weekend that certainly brings to the tip of the tongue each time we go to talk about things out here this weekend. Looking for a few little facts for you as far as Blackwater history is concerned while we get ready to celebrate with the podium. And honestly, just looking forward to what fans are going to react and how excited folks have got to be right now for Ricky Russell, somebody that has dedicated so much of their life to living the dream. And right now we just wait for these podium presentations, which will be coming up here in just a moment. So folks, just kind of stand by here when Mikey's ready, and the folks from RacerTV here are ready. Be sure and pass that on along. We're hoping to get the video feed. Obviously, as we told you yesterday, we had a lot of technical difficulties due to the windy weather that had taken place and the inclement weather with the heavy rains on Friday night and mainly the wind, and had all that rectified there yesterday. But again, just another challenging day on the mountain as we once again here at RacerTV extend the capability of our resources as far as we possibly can to get what we can out of it and try to bring to you, the racers or the race fans at home, some of the best opportunities to witness what you can. Now, something working all weekend long, and how it falls apart the last time, I never can tell. But anyway, here we are waiting for podium presentations. Chelsea, I know, do we have the point standings that we can pop up on the board real quick to show these folks what we're looking at? Oh, okay. All righty, so, well, as Johnny, I think, pointed out there just a few moments ago, that should bring things down to a now 7-point championship between Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall. Thad gaining a few extra points in that. And, you know, a few rounds ago, that first race that Caleb had problems at, no big deal, no skin off the teeth. You know, he still had a good points cushion. And then we go to the next race at New York, and he loses a few more points. And 2 wins in a row and several positions back gives Thad Duvall a lot of advantage in the point standings, and he gains even more. And then this round, even though he only beat him by 1 position out there today, it was 3 more points and 7 points looking at this championship right now. It's all of a sudden becomes reality that maybe Caleb Russell's 5th national championship title might be in jeopardy, and Thad Duvall could finally live out his dreams if the rest of 2017 go his way. A lot of variables, a lot of races, and a lot of things to look forward to as 2017 rolls right through the midway point of the championship. We'll be in Ohio in 2 weeks at the John Penton GNCC, which was rescheduled from a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, and of course it'll be July 8th and 9th. We'll have the summer break. It'll be a shortened summer break, and then, of course, we'll resume racing again in September when we go to the Unadilla GNCC. So to say that the next 5 rounds of GNCC racing are going to be exciting, I believe is quite a bit of an understatement, if truth be told. And right now, friends, we continue to look at the riders checking in. We were talking about top amateurs there a few moments ago, and we didn't know for sure who they were and if they had checked in yet. Well, I'll tell you right now, we still haven't had Levi Keller check in for a 7th lap complete. So we're still waiting on that Force Open A class, and it sounds like we are on the podium. Well, don't know what we're going to be able to do with this one, guys.
Oh, hold both. All right. Now we got two mics. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to find out. For a guy nicknamed Rowdy Ricky Russell, what better race for you to win than this one, man?
Heck yeah. I really have no words. I mean, I've been close, but not like this today. We were going back and forth all day, and me, Caleb, and Thad, I didn't even know Josh was that close, and man, it was a good race, and I had that side dialed, and the other side, towards the end, I was struggling, and the mud over there, my tire came apart a little bit, but man, I'm lost for words. It's awesome.
That's a good position to be in, man. Lost for words. This is awkward, but that's okay. We're getting through it. That's Snowshoe, man. How did this track, shape up compared to some of the others this season? Obviously, coming away with a win is huge.
Of course. No, it was gnarly. Snowshoe is gnarly every year. Last year was a little shorter, so this year was kind of more old school. It was a long course, and man, some of those hills out there were tough. I think that's where Caleb actually got stuck one lap, and I think that's where we kind of got away from him. And man, I like I said, I've never done good here, and so it's kind of like Washington, but the mud here is slicker than anything I've ridden. So my Kendek tires were hooking up awesome, and I just can't complain.
Love it, man. Who are the sponsors and people you want to thank today?
I got to thank my mom and dad back home, always supporting me. My girlfriend, she's watching online. All my Washington friends, they're always the NMA crew. They're always commenting on Facebook, giving me support. It's awesome. Ron and his wife really giving me a place to stay. Stu Baylor actually helped me out a ton. We trained together this week and drove up here. My whole team, the NFAB Yamaha, they're always behind me. Randy Hawkins is a awesome guy. He helps so much, and just everyone. I can't even. It's unreal. Kendek Tires, Menthol, Motorsport, my mechanic Lucas, the whole team, Ryan Blue, everyone giving us drinks. We thought about doing some changes in the pits, but luckily we didn't because I didn't lose that much time and kept going. Factory Connection suspension, just all you guys that helped me. The fans out here, unreal. Howard's Hole, that was crazy. Josh was actually leading into Howard's Hole, which was 2 miles to not even 2 miles, a mile to the finish, and that's where I got around him. And I was like, man, if I wanted anyone to get the overall besides me, it'd be my teammate, but I didn't want to. He's supposed to be XC2, I'm XC1, so he kicked my butt the last GNCC. I had to make sure I got it on this one. But yeah, just got to thank all you guys and everyone. This is awesome.
There we go, everybody. Ricky Russell. All right, well, that's going to do it for the technical stuff. Now get down to the fun stuff, man. A little champagne showers for you guys. Let it rain.
Well, that's going to do it, folks. We apologize for the inconvenience of the audio and, of course, the video here today. But again, as Mikey Waynes put it, this is Snowshoe. It certainly offers up a lot of challenges. There is no doubt about it. But congratulations once again to first-time winner, Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell, and, of course, Josh Tother is second, and Thad Duvall pulling to within 7 points now of Caleb Russell. That's going to wrap up today's racing action here from Snowshoe GNCC. On behalf of everyone here at RacerTV, want to thank you all for tuning in and joining along here today with us. Also, Mikey Waynes and Johnny Gallagher. I'm Rodney Tomlin saying good day, everybody.